so he went right through her, chat, right through the boob area, all the way out her back. And she's like, and he's like, no, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Someone help us. Someone help us. But then she's like, give me your face. Suck your essence out. And so she starts sucking out his sweet essence. Hello, I just wanted to thank you for clicking on my video, and I wanted to let you know not only do I create content on my YouTube channel here, Class in a Glass, but I'm also on Twitch where I play single-player games, multiplayer games. I do movie reviews, cartoon reviews, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Also, it would be a big help if you can check out my Patreon, where you can gain access to audio commentaries, reactions, and the ability to submit questions for my podcasts and videocasts. And all that content can be found in the links below. In the meantime, enjoy the video. But now, my friends, we're going to go ahead and get to this review tonight, okay? For X-Men. All right, the original film, all right, not X-Men the animated series, not X-Men Evolution, okay, not X-Men 2 or the last, no, the first one, 2000, chat, which I consider to be one of the fathers, or the mother, whatever you want to go with, one of the fathers of the modern day superhero film, chat, okay? Blade to me is the granddad. That's the grandfather of the modern day. X-Men and Spider-Man, Spider-Man, the fathers, if you will, until we got to the modern era of the superhero film, chat, with 2008's Iron Man and 2008's The Dark Knight. I consider that to be kind of like the modern day superhero film, which they've all kind of tried to emulate those movies. I've taken a lot from them, in my opinion. But before I get into the nitty-gritty details of this review, chat, before I get into the scene by scene breakdown, I have a very important question to ask you. That question being, how many of you have seen 2000's X-Men, chat, directed by Bryan Singer, starring a whole medley of very well-known actors, chat? Well, now, people knew who the fuck Hugh Jackman was before this movie. Made his goddamn career. RD, when non-suit Wolverine looks like a non-sweet Wolverine, yeah. RD says, me. I've actually seen this many times. This was the only film that felt like a team film. Gentlemen, it's a classic. Berserk, I saw it opening night. Wow. Mr. Yasman, once, a long time ago. Well, I've seen most of the X-Men movies. I've not seen any of the new ones after the Wolverine, except Deadpool and Logan. Fair enough. Drums, hell yeah. Did you ask? Yerp. I have. Gatsby, nope. Really? Wow. I already sent it. Nice. Thank you, Stefan. Steph, own it. There you go. Luke the Boss, and Daredevil 2003 is that uncle that has issues, but you still love him. Yes. He's better than Hulk. He's better than Hulk 2003. You don't talk to that guy. That guy, no, he went to the fucking asylum. He needs to stay there, Chad. Oh, Cena, gotcha. Last Miracle, me. I had the DVD case that looked like Chrome. Yeah. Well, they had that, I think I had the DVD, and it had this. This is what it looked like. There's various versions of it. I kind of like this. It's kind of slick looking. And the cover kind of emulates the beginning of the movie, you know? Where it enters in like Cerebro. It's that room when the X spins around the door. It's like, ooh, and it clicks and shit. It's like, that's cool. And they have the X-Men theme, which is but it's not that 90s X-Men theme, which I wish that's what they did, but they couldn't do it. Now when he says, I pooped, that's fine. You can do that too. Some people think some people do think this movie is poop. And we'll talk about that, Joe. We'll talk about it. I got some opinions. I think this movie's a mixed bag. I do think this movie's a mixed bag. There's some great stuff in it. Some okay. Some like maybe not really working, but I can still see what you tried doing. And some of the stuff is like, this ain't working for me. And we'll talk about it. I don't think it's a bad movie. I remember renting the VHS. Yeah, VHS, that's right. It was in that in-between time. We're still getting VHSs and DVDs and things. It's like, Akima's seen it? I own it. There you go. X-Men is a masterpiece. My love nerd, I absolutely love the bar. Bar scene holds up to this day. Bar scene is exceptionally well done. And the practical effects and Wolverine's claws, the CGI, I think they mostly use practical effects for his claws, and it really worked. I mean, you know when he's CGI because it's like it's 2000 era CGI. And it's weird because they actually use a lot of CGI in the beginning of the movie in the first and second act. I was like, it's pretty good. I was like, wow, this is not bad. But when we get to the third act, when it's just a fucking CGI smorgasbord, it's like, ooh, this ain't really working. But there is some CGI that has aged very well. And, Bryan Singer, piece of shit. But he was smart not to use it too much. At least in the first 2/3 of the movie. Marvel Love Mirror, yes, I have the special edition DVD too. Nice. Look, boss, I liked the movie okay when it came out. I didn't like the toned down cut. We'll talk about that. No, don't worry. We will. Mr. Yes, not a fan of the X-Men films. I only like the Wolverine and X-Men First Class. Really? Not a fan of Logan. And I love Deadpool. Oh, the films in Logan. Not a fan of Bryan Singer's version. There are people that didn't like him. Juggle Mighty, good to see you. I remember it felt so great to be alive because at the time it felt like something that could only be. Yeah, a lot of people. People are like, now we're starting to see, like, this is the period after Blade. You started to see like a push of Marvel movies. Before really Blade, like most of the Marvel fare was shit. You get in like 1990s Captain America, and you had Dolph Lundgren's Punisher. Like, it wasn't good. Like, even DC, it was floundering. DC had floundered by this time, where you had the various Batman films in the late 80s and throughout the 90s. Shit, Batman and Robin had come out a few years ago, and that was a huge bust. But then, then DC was kind of dormant, where they tried to make a Superman movie, but that went fucking nowhere. There were plans for a Jack Black Green Lantern film, but that went nowhere. It was going to be more of a comedy. And then you started to see this proliferation, and it really was. It was a lot of these Marvel movies, Blade, X-Men, Spider-Man. Not everything was a hit. Fantastic Four and Daredevil and Hulk, of course, there were a lot of misfires, no doubt about it. But it was an era that they were still trying to figure things out. That's why I kind of call Blade the grandfather and X-Men and Spider-Man the fathers of the genre, because they were like, well, we're setting the tone. We're trying to set the tones. At least that's what I've always thought. Who thinks it's poop? something electric frog or whatever. That's accurate. Actually, that sounds even better than what Halle Berry said. You want CG claws? Oh man, I've never seen a series where the effects get worse. I mean, I guess there's great examples, notable examples. But like for a big budget franchise where every movie has a bigger budget than the last one for the most part. And when we get to X-Men Origins, the claws look awful. It's like, what happened? Why do the claws from 10 plus years ago look better than the ones that are 10 years later? It makes no goddamn sense. Check out I have reviewed. So this isn't my first X-Men movie review, I should say. Let me just continue reading the comments here. Sabretooth got them big old curly eyebrows in this movie. That's true. That's true, Chad. Yeah, so a lot of you have seen this. Only a couple of you have not, but most of you have seen this, Chad. But first to start off with saying, this is not my first X-Men Fox era movie review. I have done the Wolverine trilogy. I've done X-Men Origins Wolverine. Ugh. I've done the Wolverine, which I actually like more watching. The second, I was like, there's a lot of good stuff in here. It's not bad. The third act is like, what the fuck? But, it needed that R rating too. But I enjoyed it. And Logan, I think, is fantastic. I love Logan. But those are only the X-Men films I think I've reviewed. I don't think I've reviewed any of the other ones. So this is my first proper X-Men review, which I'm excited about. Because like a lot of you guys, I saw this too when I saw this in theaters when I was a little kid, and it blew my fucking mind, Chad. I was like, I'm sure many of you who grew up in the 90s, Chad, or adults or were kids in the 90s, and you watched the X-Men 90s animated series, Chad, which just got greenlit for a new season, Chad. X-Men 97, which is like, holy fucking shit, who would have thought this is all coming back? It's amazing. But I think that was a lot of that was our big exposure to the series, chat. That, the ba-na-na-na-na, ba-na-na-na-na, ba-na-na, which I hope they do a cinematic version of that theme song. What they got here is fine, but it's no 90s X-Men animated series theme song, chat. And of course I was reading X-Men comics. It was the 90s, so you're getting all the spin-offs like X-Force and Deadpool and shit during this time period. And when it was announced they're finally going to get an X-Men movie, I wasn't paying attention to, the history of this film. I know a lot about the history now, but as a kid, I was like, it's finally happening, and they got fucking Wolverine, and there's Magneto, and there's the other guys that no one gives a shit about. Like, for every kid who watched X-Men, we all loved Wolverine, Chad. He was our guy. He was so cool. He had knives for hands, okay? And we all pretended to be Wolverine, Chad, because we all put, our dad's or our mom's car keys in between our knuckles and went stabby stab, and it was awesome. Because I couldn't get the knives because I was like, I tried to do it with real knives, and that didn't work because it hurts your hands when you do that. You stabbed yourself. But I did it with my dad's or my mom's car. I actually did them with both. I got my dad's car keys in my right hand, my mom's car keys in my left hand, and I was fucking Wolverine, baby, and it was awesome. Wolverine was doing this before Black Panther, Chad, and Wakanda Forever. No! X-Men Forever, baby, okay? X-Men, that's what this was. So that was so cool. So I was an X-Men kid, saw the movie, fucking loved it. X2, loved it even more. It was a great time to be alive, chat, watching these films as a little lad, if you will. And I was already immersed in the property, and I loved it. But years later, the franchise continued on, as we all know, and the entries were either mixed to horrible. I like X2. It's been a while since I've seen X2, much like it's been a while since I've seen the original X-Men. But I remember X2 is my favorite of that era, of that trilogy era, if you will. But I liked X-Men a lot. And Last Stand, I was like, I don't really like this. And then it got bad with like Origins and shit. And I did, my Wolverine reviews, Chad. You can watch all those. But then they brought it back, hey, First Class, and I'm not the biggest First Class fan. A lot of people love that a lot of people fucking adore that X-Men film. It's like, okay, more power to you. All right. I'm more of a Days of Future Past kind of guy. That's my jam. But then we got Apocalypse. I did not like Apocalypse. Phoenix was bad. Deadpool, and I love Deadpool. I like Deadpool too. And I have still yet to see New Mutants, Chad. I have to review. I think that's on my list of films to review. I haven't seen it at this point. So, hoping to maybe sometime the next year I'll be able to review maybe all of the X-Men films. So, but hey, I remember my time with this first movie. Saw it like twice in theaters when I was like a little. I think it was like 10. I think I was like 10 years old when I saw this movie. So it was huge for me. It was huge for me. But I have seen it in the years since, either watching on VHS or I had the DVD, as I said before. And there's certain things that you grow to not like as much. And there is a number of things where I'm like, yeah, this just doesn't work. It doesn't work, whether it worked at the time or it just doesn't work anymore. But there is a lot of stuff that I appreciate and admire, and does do a lot of things right. It's a mixed bag. But it's a mixed bag. For the most part, it leans on the positive more than negative. I mean, if there is like bad or questionable stuff in the movie, like miscasting or just bad dialogue or bad CGI or action scenes. Choreography is pretty rough in this film. There's even some of the bad stuff is just fun to make fun of and watch. I mean, everyone loves to make fun of Halle Berry's line. That's great. That's great material. It's an infamous line, but it's almost like it's a charming infamous line. It was so consistently mocked, and eventually people just like, here's the scene, it's coming up, and they'll have fun with it. So I was like, yeah, there's a lot to love. There's a lot to love with this movie. But it's funny because this film was in some form of production or development hell since the 80s. Shit, I think in the early 80s, one of the first big people to be attached to an X-Men movie was James Cameron and his wife and producer at the time, who was also a filmmaker, Chet. Went on to do one of my favorite vampire films, Near Dark, Oscar winner for Hurt Locker, and nominated for Zero Dark 30 and stuff. But they were originally attached to do an X-Men film, I think like in 84. This is like right after Cameron had done The Terminator. And so Terminator, that made James Cameron's career. That was like, holy fucking shit, who's this guy? Let's attach him to something big. And he wanted to work on an X-Men film for quite some time. And there are dozens of X-Men scripts. I think you can find them, a lot of them, but there are dozens of X-Men scripts out there, all people doing their own versions. And X-Men, that was one of the James Cameron's passion projects he wanted to work on. But apparently after a meeting with Stan Lee, like he was like, yeah, the X-Men are great, but hey, Spider-Man. And eventually Cameron got so excited about doing a Spider-Man movie that he dropped his involvement. He moved on from X-Men to do a Spider-Man film. And he had some weird fucking ideas for a Spider-Man movie where it would have been, the first villain would have been Doc Ock, and it would have had Spider-Man fight a giant tarantula. It was like some weird fucking shit. But then the movie kind of fell, it went to various filmmakers, and then eventually it was bought by 20th Century Fox in the mid-90s. Chad, thank you, Purple Canary, for subscribing. 11 months. 1 month away from a full year. Thank you, Purple Canary. Good to see you. Just talking about X-Men right now. Got to go over the history of this particular movie before I get into the nitty-gritty details, my scene-by-scene breakdown. But it wasn't until the mid-90s that the film was picked up by 20th Century Fox, because Marvel at the time had gone bankrupt. They're like, we have no fucking money. We have no liquid cash. And so they were selling all their character cinematic rights and TV rights to various studios, and 20th Century Fox picked up the X-Men. They picked up, Fantastic Four and Daredevil, I think, Ghost Rider. Picked up a number of characters. But even then, Fox was kind of struggling too. That's when they started to get the ball rolling, really. And then in the last 5 to 6 years, they went through various scripts. They had everyone from fucking Christopher McQuarrie to David Hayter, Chat, who the voice of Snake from Metal Gear Solid, it gets screenwriting credit. Although he says the majority of his draft is in the movie, but other people say only 10% of his. It's crazy, but. He wrote a script, and I guess they used most of his draft. Joss Whedon wrote a script, and they used only two infamous lines from his script. But it kind of all started come together when Bryan Singer finally came on board. This is like after his success, I believe, with the usual suspects at the time. And he originally wasn't interested in doing a superhero film, but it's one of the producers. I'm trying to remember which specific producer it was, but one of the producers had said like, "Hey man, X-Men, that's a allegory for the civil rights movement and for the mistreatment of people of color, and also for the LGBT community." And that's what really got him interested, because he is a gay man, and that's when he came on board and he did his own version, his own script, which actually was rewritten by David Hayter and then Joss Whedon stuff. And he really wanted to focus on the discrimination and the idea of the government coming in and trying to control the lives of the mutants. And that was his passion. Emerald Jester, thank you so much for rescribing 12 months, a full year subscribe. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's so kind of you. And then we finally got X-Men 2000. Of course, you had some amazing casting, Chad. Patrick Stewart, who was already in the pop culture zeitgeist, because in the 90s, Chad, in the late 80s and throughout the 90s, he was, Jean-Luc Picard on Star Trek Next Generation. He was a fan cast for Solo. People went, yes, him. And that was obvious. Ian McKellen as Magneto. Perfect casting, which he already had a relationship with Singer, working on a film called At Pupil, which, funny enough, he played a Nazi in that, alleged Nazi. But that was his connection in the movie. And probably the other big star in the film. There's a lot of big stars in this movie. Thank you. Who's this? Dusk. Who's this? Dusk Ninja Kenji? Dusk Ninja Kenji. Thank you so much for the follow. You're my new Huckleberry. Welcome to the stream, talking about that X-Men. But the other big, because yes, we had Halle Berry as Storm and Famke Johnson as Jean Grey, and poor James Marsden as Cyclops, who's so underused in all these movies. And a number of other great actors in the film. But the weird one was Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. So now we think of Hugh Jackman, like Wolverine always comes to mind. It's like, oh yeah, of course, yeah. But at the time, people don't know who the fuck he was. He was a song and dance man from Australia, Chad. 20th Century Fox's first pick for Wolverine was actually Russell Crowe, who passed on the role. Eventually, they ended up casting Dougray Scott, who was working on Mission Impossible 2 at the time. But production got extended because they had to do extensive reshoots because John Woo likes to take his fucking time. And so he had to drop out of the film. And he already signed like a multi-picture deal, but he had to finish Mission Impossible 2. And that's when 3 weeks into production, 3 weeks into principal photography for this movie, Hugh Jackman was finally brought on at the recommendation of Russell Crowe, who already knew him. They're both Australians. He said, hey, I don't want to do the movie, but I know a guy who'd be perfect for the role. And fucking history was made, Chad, of Hugh Jackman. And he was not known. And he was widely criticized when he was initially kept being like, I know who the fuck this guy is. He's too tall and he's too fucking handsome. Wolverine, he's 5'4", Chad. He's a little hairy, smelly Canadian man. All right. He's Bob Hoskins. Like when James Cameron was originally planning to shoot the movie, him and Catherine Bigelow, they wanted to cast Angela Bassett as Storm, which would have been fucking awesome, and Bob Hoskins as Wolverine, which I would have loved. It would have been great. But sadly, that didn't happen. But hey, Hugh Jackman made the role his own, and he has gone to do many great Wolverine, films. Some of them bad, some of them good. But hey, ending on a high note with fucking Logan, Chad. Now there's rumors he might be coming back to the role in Doctor Strange 2. Oh boy, I'm still hoping for Dan DeVito's Wolverine. I can only hope we'll get that one day. That would be great. That would be great. But yeah, I really encourage you to look into the history of this film. It's some fascinating stuff and how it all finally, after like 15 years, almost nearly 20 years of some form of development hell, it's finally came together in 2000's X-Men, Chad. A film that I do enjoy, with some flaws. Marvel Buff Nerd, thank you for the videos. At the time, Jackman was so experienced in weightlifting that he thought he was going to get some lean gains going with him. 3 weeks. They showed all of his shirtless scenes at the very end of production, which gave him 3 solid months of weight. Wow, but still so tiny. That's so funny. Yeah, we're going to talk about that. I wanted to mention that. Thank you for the videos, by the way. He is so small in this movie. I mean, he looks great. He's in very good shape, Chad. Like, I would kill for his body in this film. He looks great. But when we see him later on the franchise, especially like in the Wolverine, when he is so fucking ripped and he's got those veiny muscles because he dehydrated himself, so he's just shredded. It's like, oh my god. Here he looks like some regular schmuck, but it works. It works. Like he's in great shape, Chad. There's no doubt about it. But now, my friends, thank you for that. Thank you for that fun fact one. But there's so many. You should know. You're a Marvel buff nerd. But yeah, there's a lot of great history of this film. Highly recommend you guys checking out the entire franchise. It's really fascinating. But chat, we gotta go ahead and get started. We have a cool little opening credit sequence, chat. A lot of the 2000 era films had a lot of CGI going up someone's ass via their spinal cord. Chat. We go up the ass, into the spinal cord, into the brain, muty genes everywhere, muty. Then we go back out of the spine, out of the ass, and then we're looking at the, not the danger room door. All the filmmakers wanted to have a sequence of the danger room. Fox said, fuck that. We don't have no money for a danger room scene. Make it be Cerebro. It's the Cerebro scene. They went cool. And so we see the big old X door in the Cerebro, chat. It's about, open, but now it's closing, chat. Got that lock. And then, chat, we transition. It's like, that was a cool little opening sequence. What fun shenanigans are the X-Men going to get up to? What's the first fun scene in this movie, chat? So we start off in 1944 Poland, chat, at Auschwitz. Well, if you're unfamiliar with Auschwitz, chat, that's a concentration camp. It's like, oh, it's this kind of movie. But I appreciate it, chat. I like me a good old-fashioned concentration camp scene, okay? Because this film has taken the subject, the subject seriously. Taking the material seriously, which I appreciate, chat. And it's very miserable because we see all these Jews and Slavs and people of color and the Nazis round up anybody. Hey, you weren't fucking German blonde and a goose step, and we're gonna fucking lock you up. But we see all these people marching down this line, chat. It's fucking raining. There's mud and shit everywhere. It's not good. We see all these Nazis barking orders, just yelling Schnell and Wiener Schnitzel and stuff. So much Wiener Schnitzel. All these fucking German shepherds just barking everywhere. Very pro German shepherd, Nazis and things. But then we get up to a point in the line where they separate them, where they're taking like the kids away from the parents, chat, and we see this small family, chat. We see this man and this woman and their son, little Eric, chat, little Magneto Eric, right? And so they're separating the kid, and they grab little Eric, chat, and they throw him in the mud. It's like, you go that way, in German, Schnell. While the parents are marched off to the gas chambers, chat, where they're going to gas him. And Eric's like, fuck that. And he immediately begins crying in anger, and he just starts reaching out, chat, towards the door as all these Nazis are holding him back, and he starts literally pulling at the gate with his magnetism. His magnetic powers, chat, ripping the gate off so he can get back to his family. Takes like 5 or 6 Nazis to get in there just to grab him. They're like, holy fucking shit. Until eventually this one guy comes up in front of him and hits him in the face with the butt of his gun, chat, and he falls over. And we see the gate leading to the gas chamber, chat, has just been contorted and destroyed. And we're like, what the fuck was that? But that is an excellent opening. It's like, oh shit. Okay, it's like, no, we're not, like, hey, fun adventures of the X-Men. No, we're going to take this seriously. We're going to start in a concentration camp where we're seeing all these people, chat, of, various backgrounds, and from Jews to Slavs, what have you. They're going to be they're going to be murdered. And we're watching the son of some of these people just crow in agony as there's nothing he can do. It's a great opening, chat. Really does, as people have already been saying, really sets the tone for the movie. We then transition, chat. 60 years later, so the year 2000, chat, 60 years later after that horrific episode. Have things gotten better since 1944? Nope. They haven't, sadly. It's like, oh, well, we won't be ignorant or racist anymore. I mean, we saw the Nazis. Look at the end result of that. We won't do that. Not getting much better, chat. But when we transition from that, and we are in like a hearing, like a senatorial hearing, where we see Jean Grey, chat, wearing a nice little cute red dress, showing off the tush. She's given a very emotional speech against this new piece of legislation that is working its way through Congress, chat, okay? It's the Mutant Registration Act. This is so everyone in America, okay, knows who's a mutie. If your neighbor's a mutie, if the kids at school that your kid goes to, know if any of them are muties, knows if your coworker's a mutie, chat. That's what this legislation does, and it's popular because people are fucking scared of all these goddamn fucking muties, chat. All right, and she's like, listen, this is just going to ostracize us even more. People are going to be even more upset. It's going to create more resentment. It's like, this is very dangerous. And then we get him, chat, Senator Kelly, who's like, Miss Gray, who is basically Ted Cruz, or, you pick a politician. He's like the MAGA. He's like the MAGA of the movie, chat, if you will. He comes in and he's like, listen, these muties, you say that, that this would ostracize them, that this would create dangers for them, but aren't they dangerous? Jean Grey, Dr. Grey, all these powers. We've heard all these fantastical things about them. Shouldn't the government know about these individuals? Shouldn't parents or teachers or police officers know who these people are? These are dangerous weapons. No one wants these kind of people in schools. No one wants to bring a loaded gun. Would you trust your child? Would you trust a child to bring a loaded gun to school? No. And nor would any parents. And he's playing that. He's a piece of shit. He is. Now he's a piece of shit. However, Slayer, good to see you. I get what he's saying because the idea of superpowered people who can't control their powers in like these settings is fucking horrifying. It's really scary. And he's a racist piece of shit, but I'm like, he's got a point. He's got a little bit of a point there. And he's going on. Everyone in the senatorial committee is like, yeah, I love this fucking guy. This guy knows his shit. Yeah. And then we cut back and we see fucking Patrick Stewart, perfectly cast, immaculately cast, chat, as Dr. Charles Xavier, chat, Professor X himself. He's sitting up there, he's like, this is not good. And he looks to his right, and he sees an old man put on a fedora and leave, and he knows, like, there's only one old man I still know who loves to wear fedoras, chat, and looks fucking great in them. But we followed this old man, Chaz. He leads the senatorial meeting committee, and then apparently this committee room is very capable, chat, because good old Patrick Stewart, good old Charles Xavier, he's able to wheel out right behind him, and he's like, Eric, and he's like, and then we got, again, anytime Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are on screen together and they're having a dialogue, fucking good, really goddamn good. He's like, Eric, what are you doing here? And he's like, Charles, I've come to see what they have to say about us. And he's like, they're not all like Senator Kelly, Eric. He's like, I'm not called Eric anymore. My name is Magneto. He's like, all right, Magneto. And he's like, they're not all like that, okay? Humanity's changing. They're evolving. And then Magneto turns around and he's like, yeah, they're evolving into us. Ooh, being very cheeky. And he's like, I know what you're trying to do, Charles, trying to get in my brain, buddy, but you ain't gonna get in my brain, okay? You ain't gonna do that. Stop trying to infiltrate. I have my plans. You got your plans. You do what you want to do. I'm gonna do what I want to do, okay? And we're gonna go our separate ways. Not gonna keep lecturing me. And he leaves. And Charles like, that guy, he's a sumbitch. I should kill him. He literally could have killed him right there. But he can't help himself. It's like, you could stop so many people from dying, Charles, if you just fucking killed Magneto. You could easily do it. Just make his head explode like scanners. But he's like, no, that's my best friend. Who else am I going to play chess with and have philosophical conversations in a plastic cube? No one else, chap. And he's like, well, that's probably not good. Eventually, Chad, we move on from that scene, and we then cut to Anna Paquin. She was cast as the character of Rogue, chap. Very popular character in the comics who can't touch anybody. It's like, Jesus Christ, her love life is not the best, chat. But Anna Paquin, I think she famously dropped out of the movie, or she passed it on another big film. They're like, I'm gonna be fucking an X-Men. And she's already a Academy Award winner, chat. She did the piano, I think, won a Best Supporting Actress, chat. So she was a good get, and she does a good job as Rogue in this movie in X2. Criminally underused in X3, but she does a good job here. And she is in Alabama, chat, and she's making out with a teenage football player, one of them teenage boys, chat, and she's all talking to him about, I want to go here, I want to go here, I want to go to Florida, I want to go to Texas. She wants to go over the South and Southwest, chat. She's really all about that. And he's like, yeah, how about you come right here? Come get it. She's like, I know what you're talking about. Come here. Sex. And so they start thrusting, as you would expect, two horny kids going through the hormone shack, going through puberty. When you go through puberty, all your X gene activates, chat. So apparently when she was making out with this boy and thrusting, into him and stuff, that's when the puberty just hit automatically, chat. And she begins to suck out his sweet, sweet essence, sucking out all that teenage boy essence, chat, sucking out all that good stuff. And he's like, it looks nasty because he's getting all veiny and things. It's just sucking so much. And she's like, oh my God, what happened? I mean, are you thinking like, is he having an allergic reaction, Chad? It's like, Rogue, did you eat like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich? Because if you make out someone and they're allergic to peanuts, Chad, they could have like sex equals death. They should have showed, this is perfect abstinence commercial. Rogue should have been like the poster girl for abstinence, chat. She's like, don't fuck me or I'll kill you, literally. I was like, nice. But, you know, she fucking starts screaming, and the parent, like, this is at the boys' parents' house, and the mom's is playing the piano all goddamn day. I don't know if she teaches lessons, but she's been playing that piano forever. Mom rushes upstairs, dad rushes upstairs, and they're like, oh, Billy, are you okay? Billy's not doing okay. She's like, he can't breathe. He looks like a fucking mummy at this point, just, and they're going, oh, God. He's like, I just fucking kissed him. I kissed him on his mouth. His mouth was so purty. And the mom's like, it's okay, honey, it's okay. He's like, don't fucking touch me. She's like, why are we screaming? I just love you. And then it's like, okay, shit. And we then we immediately cut from that. And she has left her entire life behind. She has become a runaway, like family. Now, I know Rogue's been an orphan in the comics. Her mother is her adopted mother's Mystique. I have no idea what the background is for this Rogue. She was living in Alabama. She was sucking on her boyfriend, sucked his soul out or something, Chad. Sucked him off real good, a little too good for his, for his own sake. And now she is traveling. Well, she is traveling. She's doing what she wants to do. And she has found herself in the great white north of Canada, Chad, in Alberta, which I'm surprised there's civilization up there. I'm like, if you look at like a satellite map of like, the North American continent, and you focus on the United States and Canada, most of the Canadian population is near our border. All those cities in Montreal and Vancouver and Toronto and shit. It's like, oh, right there. It's as south as possible. And up there, it's like nothing. It's just wilderness, chat. I assume that's where all the White Walkers live. So she's kind of in she's over the wall, White Walker territory, chat, mammoths and polar bears. That's where she is. And she hitchhiked with this very burly Albertan man, chat, and took her to the nearest city. She's like, you told me you'd take me as far as Carson City. And he's like, oh, this is right here. This is Carson City. Oh, yeah. And it's like, it's literally a barn. It's a barn and farm animals, and there might be a convenience store nearby, but that's Carson City up in Canada, Chad, in Alberta, Canada. And so she goes in there, Chad, a big bunch of burly men and a lot of women who have seen better years. But she happens across a cage match, chat, where a truck driver's like, apparently after you've been driving all day, you just want to hit some man meat. Fair enough, teach their own. But he wants to hit some good old-fashioned man meat, chat. But she spots the guy's competitor, the person this man's going to be beaten on, chat, in a non-sexual way. I mean, as far as we know. And we don't see his face, chat. We don't see his face. But he's smoking a cigar. He's got like this wispy hair. This one before like they really went in with the pompadour for Logan. Like here the hair looks pretty good. It's not like I'm glad they didn't do like the giant like tips like that. Like it's pretty, it looks normal for the most part. Just like a lot of poof. He's got to use a lot of pomade in there. My favorite version of his hair is actually in probably the Wolverine where it's just really wispy. I was like, oh, that looks good. By the time we get to X-Men 3, his hair is literally like fucking huge. He looks like Vegeta or Goku. It's like, except that their hair went like out that way. It's like, that's a little too much. Here it looks pretty good. He's smoking a cigar. He's fucking down in a whiskey, chat. And then you have the cage match announcer, and he goes to the truck driver. He says, okay, listen, anything goes here, but just don't kick him in the balls. The truck driver's like, I thought you said anything goes. He's like, yes, but if you kick him in the balls, he'll take it personal like. And the guy goes, I don't care. And he goes over and he kicks Wolverine in the balls, chat. Not smart decision, because Wolverine's like, don't do that to me again, guys. I do what I want. And he fucking throws another punch, but then Logan just puts up his fist like this, like just holds it and meets it, and the guy's head just fucking crumples, shut. Just like all of his fingers are broken. The bone and cartilage goes, shit, like little blood and meat just comes out of his hand. It's like, oh my God. It's like a water balloon hit that's a metallic surface. And then fucking Wolverine, chat, Logan himself goes bonk, hits him on the head, chat. He's a little derpy now. It falls down, and the Wolverine is the champion. Rah, everyone's happy. Everyone's having a good time. And he just goes back to smoking his cigar in the corner, Chad, drinking, takes another shot of whiskey. That's what Logan's doing. Later in the evening, Rogue is sitting at the bar, and she she can't do anything. She's looking at this big old, barrel, this plastic barrel or jar of Canadian money. And the bartender comes on over, is like, I see you on my money jar. This is mine. And he's like, you only get water. So Rogue only gets water at this point. But at that point, the money's worthless. It's Canadian money. So it's like, you might as well use that for, firewood or some shit, kindling. It's like, it's nothing. I'd be like, yeah, no, you can keep it. I have American money. Worth a lot more. But Logan, he goes and sits down right next to her, and she's eyeing him. He's looking all badass and stuff. He's like, whiskey. Gives Logan another whiskey. But then the truck driver comes on over. He's like, I know what you did. I know what you are, boy. And Logan's like, how about you enjoy yourself, pal? Get yourself a drink and then get the fuck out of here. And he's like, and even the truck driver's boy's like, hey, come on, man. Guy's like real scary and such. He's like, I don't care. And he goes up real close to the old lady. He's like, I know what you is, boy. I know you wanted them beauties. And Logan's like, how about you get the fuck away from him? The guy tries to sucker punch him, chat. So that's the thing. Like, the guy's like coming up by, he like walks away, but he's about to sucker punch him. And Rogue says, watch out. And Logan, he gets up, chat, and he gets his claws out, bears his fucking, and this shot still holds up to this day. Like how they come out of his hand. It's like some kind of what the hell is this? Oh, my PS5, my PS5 acting up something awful, chat. There we go. But, so, good old Anna Paquin, chat. Rogue's like, watch out, Wolverine. And he comes up, grabs the guy's hand, and then pops his claws, but he pops them slow. And it's the right one and the left one pop out, and it's like right across the guy's neck. And the middle one like slowly comes out, and the tip is like right on the guy's throat. It's like, holy fucking shit, that's awesome. And still holds up today. Like, I'm like, is that a practical effect or is that CGI? It's probably a combination of both. And how it's done is great. Very well done. The bartender, he comes up behind Wolverine. He's like, get out, he has a shotgun, get out of my bar, freak. And Logan, he pops the other claw, slashes the fucking shotgun. It was like, oh, splits it in two. He's like, and he's like, okay, I'll leave. And give me my fucking money. He gets paid his money. He takes, everyone's fucking scared of him, chat. And he goes in his really shitty fucking truck, which has like a trailer on top of the truck bed. And it's like, oh, you can just imagine the smell, chat. I imagine it smells like beef jerky, beer, and piss constantly, chat. But he goes in there and it's cold out too. This feels cold. It's like, shit, it's Alberta cold. It's probably like 0 degrees there with wind chill. It's like, oh, and everything smells like urine. Not great. Before going already, you look at it, yeah, they're funny. It's a good scene. It's just like, oh, it sells it. Like, Hugh Jackman does a good job, especially in this first act here. It's pretty nice. But then he's driving down the goddamn road at this point, chat. And not only does Wolverine's got an interesting fucking power set. Like, you would think, like, power's like, okay, they're all kind of related. Like, I get it. But his power set's fucking weird. He kind of got, like, the hodgepodge of superhero powers. Where it's like, he has a healing ability. I get that. Okay, cool. He has retractable metal claws and exoskeleton, which I know he gets later on because he had bone claws beforehand. But his other superpower is a really good sense of smell. And so while he's driving on the road, he catches a whiff of something. And I can only imagine, like, Rogue, she couldn't hold it in, which went a little fart. And he's like, what's that? And he stops the car, he goes over, and he wants to know where the fart came from, obviously, chat. And he, like, sees this blanket in the back of his, like, he's got, like, his pickup, and then he's got, like, a little, like, tote thing, little thing that he's picking up behind him. And he pokes it, and the person goes, ow. And he unravels the fucking blanket where Rogue is there. She's like, I'm sorry, mister. I had nowhere to go. I just need a ride. He's like, I don't give a fuck. Get out of my goddamn car. By the way, eat something more than jerky. And so I could smell your stank from all the way out here. And so it's like, I'm going to freeze out here. He's like, not my problem. But he keeps on driving, chat. But, Wolverine, he acts like a tough guy, chat. But he's got a heart of gold. He's like, fuck. And he stops the car. And he's got a soft spot for, like, daughter-esque figures in his life. Like, he's got a soft spot in his heart for kids, chat. Because he's always been kind of like a paternal figure for a lot of X-Men. A lot of young X-Men, especially, boys or girls. You know, Kitty Pryde, Jubilee, etc. And so he's like, fuck. And so he stops the car, and she runs up, and she gets there. She's like, thank you. And they keep driving. And she's like, you got any food in here? And he's like, I got some jerky, although I don't want to give it to you. She's like, I love jerky. I know you love jerky. I could tell. I could smell it. And so she starts just fucking shoveling this jerky in her face. She's like a little chipmunk, just all the jerky. I said, you can have some of my jerky. She just eats all of the fucking jerky. And it's like, oh, God. Hey, I missed any meatballs? Two, good sir. They get the 10 bitties. I'll tell you what they are in a bit, good sir, in a bit. But she stuffs her little chipmunk cheeks full of jerky, and she notices his dog tags and says, Wolverine. He's like, is your name Wolverine? He's like, don't call me that. My name is Logan. He's like, why does it say Wolverine if your name is Logan? He's like, it's what everyone called me. It's like, okay, sure. He doesn't know who he is yet. It's a big mystery with Wolverine / Logan / James Howlett, which is his real name. And he notices that she's like really cold, and she's trying to warm her hands. And he goes, here, I'll turn the heater on so you can put your hands next to it. And he reaches over there, but her hands are like there. And she's like, don't touch me. And he's like, I'm not going to hurt you, okay? I'm not going to hurt you. Jesus, I'm just trying to get your hands warm. She's like, bad things happen. Bad things happen when people touch me. I was kissing this boy, and I sucked him real good. And he's like, okay, all right. Well, you just keep your hands right there. That's fine. And so they keep driving, but then he gets like a weird sense. He's like, wait a minute, something's off. And then this big fucking tree comes down. She's like, eh! And he stops, though, right before he hits it, Chad. But this big old fucking tree comes down. He gets out. Oh, no, that's not it. No, I'm sorry. That's not it. No, the big old tree comes down. He goes, pooh! He goes right through the fucking windshield, Chad. Right through it. Glass in his face. Ah! While Rue, she had her seatbelt on, smart. And she's like, oh my God, are you dead? But he gets up fine. We see, this is pretty good. We see like the glass like start to like fall out of his face and stuff, and the wounds start to clear up and things. He's like, are you okay? And she goes, yeah, are you? He's like, I'm all right. And she's trying to get out of the car, but he sees the tree and he knows, okay, there's no way that tree could fucking fall. Someone pushed that on top of us. But then he starts getting a whiff of something, Chad. Smells like wet dog. And then boom, Sabretooth attacks. Rawr! Sabretooth has very little lines. And he comes out. And this Sabretooth is very animalistic shade. He's got big old bushy eyebrows. He's got like dead animal pelts. And it appears like this Wolverine and Sabretooth have not come across each other before. Although later on we learn that they do. But it doesn't matter. Fox, the timeline of Fox movies is fucking ridiculous. Who cares? But they start fighting, Chad. And again, the fight scenes between the two of them, it's mostly just, I'm going to throw you over here, and then I'm going to run up, I'm going to throw you over there. That's what we get. A lot of throwing, a lot of kicking, a lot of, camera work where we're hiding the fact that the actors can't really fight. A lot of wire work in this movie. This is the first big action scene in the film. It's like, yeah, it's not great. A lot of snow coming down. But Sabretooth, he's fucking throwing Wolverine, and Wolverine's like, fuck. And Rogue, she can't get out of the car because she's stuck in there. She ate too much beef jerky. Chad. She's so bloated right now, and she can't escape. Belly's blocking the belt buckle. Meanwhile, all of the kerosene and gasoline and alcohol and urine, apparently when you combine those elements, Chad, it creates fire. And so the back of Wolverine's RV is now on fire, and like, this is bad. She's got to get out of there quick. But Wolverine, he's trying to get to her, but he's trying to fight Sabretooth off. Oh, God, the situation is just awful, Chad. But then all of a sudden, when Sabretooth's about to just start stabbing the shit out of Wolverine's tummy, the storm starts to get worse. Chad. And he looks behind him. He's like, God damn it, because who do we see, Chad? We see Halle Berry as Storm, and we see James Marsden as Scott Summers Cyclops, Chad. And Storm is controlling the snowstorm, and fucking Summer's like, shit. And he tries to escape, but then he gets his ass blasted by Cyclops. Yeah, but here's the first proper introduction of two X-Men in full regalia, in full black leather regalia. And Scott, he grabs Logan while Storm, she's and again, her accent in and out. Like, are you Egyptian? Are you American? Who fucking knows? But she also frees Rogue from her beef jerky induced coma, and he gets her out of the RV where it just explodes. Shit, explodes, right? And then we cut from that scene, and where are we now? Oh, yes. We then cut, and Logan is at the Xavier Institute. He is being analyzed by Jean Grey, chat. She's poking and prodding him with, fucking needles and stuff. And then he wakes up. He wakes up, and he grabs her. He's like, you smell nice. And then he, punches her in the face and knocks her out. Which I get. You don't know where you are. He freaked out. He does that a lot in the movie. Freaks out, punches her. And he goes walking. He's in the underground facility. And he's like, where am I? And then the elevator opens up. And he goes in the elevator, chat. And he goes to the regular floor of the X mansion, right? Where it looks all fucking nice in Westchester, New York. And he's hiding behind wooden pillars and stuff. As the bell rings. All these little fucking muty kids start running out and talking about muty powers and, Backstreet Boys and I don't know, what Xbox and stuff. They're very excited. And he's like, oh, God, fucking kids, Xbox. And he starts, going back and forth. And eventually he goes to this one door. He closes it. And he's like, oh, I'm safe. And he turns around, and we see Charles Xavier teaching a class. He goes, oh, Logan, good to see you. And we see young Bobby Drake, played by Shawn Ashmore. He gets a couple scenes in this movie, chat. Shawn Ashmore. We see Kitty Pryde, who is constantly recast in every fucking film. Eventually, they went with Ellen Page, now Elliot Page. She's there. And then I think maybe Jubilee, who gets no speaking lines, but I know it's Jubilee because in Wikipedia it says it's Jubilee. And, man, I wanted Jubilee, chat. One more of her. That'd been nice. But, they're like, the bell, he's like, oh, that was the bell. Go ahead and leave, everyone. And so, Iceman, he walks out. Fucking Jubilee, she walks out. But then Kitty Pryde, she forgets her book, and she goes back to her desk. She's like, bye, Professor. And she doesn't open the door, chat. She goes through the door. By the way, the effect holds up very well. It was a very good effect, chat. I was like, nice. And then, Wolverine's like, where the hell am I? And he's like, the place you need to be, Logan. You need to relax. We're here to help you. My name is Dr. Charles Xavier. I run the Xavier Institute for Gifted Youngsters. And he's like, youngsters, gifted mutants like yourself. And he's like, I don't want any of your goddamn help or your charity. I want to leave. And he's like, but Logan, there's so much I can help you with. And he goes open the door. Who walks to the fucking door? Scott Summers and Storm. And it's like, if it wasn't for my compatriots, right here, Storm and Cyclops, you and Rogue would be dead. He's like, where's Rogue? She's here at my school. She's been here for quite some time learning. And we get this montage. We get a lot of montage shots in a bit. Of him showcasing the school and stuff, which is actually pretty cool. And he's like, it's because of Storm and Cyclops that you're alive today, Logan. He's like, I've been through worse. But Logan's like, I respect you, Storm. I respect you. Thank you. He looks at Scott. He's like, I fucking hate you. There's something about your face. I just don't like it. So they really mistreat James Marsden throughout, Scott Summers in general, Cyclops in general. He's supposed to be the leader of the X-Men, and he's never the leader. He's never treated as the leader. He's just kind of like a smarmy douchebag in all these films. And that's a goddamn shame because James Marsden's actually perfectly cast the character. And it just felt like Bryan Singer and all these other filmmakers that ever directed a movie with Cyclops just don't like the character and don't know how to use him. And that's always bothered me. And so much. And also Jean Grey fucking walks in. She's like, you fucking choked me and stuff. He's like, I like your ass. If you watch this scene, Logan, as she walks by, his eyes are directly looking at her thick tuchus, Che. He's like, what? It's like, come on. But I'm a big Cyclops fan. They did Cyclops so in this movie. In the sequel, he gets less screen time. In the third one, it's like, we're just going to kill him in the first act. And it's like, you got to be fucking kidding me. He's an uptight white guy. Yeah, he is horrible when he is. He's an uptight white guy with a stick up his ass. What they should have done, in hindsight now, but I hope when, they introduce the X-Men in the MCU, they should treat Scott Summers more like Captain America, like Chris Evans' version of the character. Where, he's a quote-unquote Boy Scout, straight arrow, but he's a man of integrity. He's a man of morality, but he's very caring and good-natured and loves his adopted family, wants to do right by them. And he's earnest, and that's what Cyclops needs to be. And I would try to emulate Chris Evans's take on Captain America. And for whatever reason, in all these, and there's adaptations, not just even in the live action ones, but even the animated ones, they've mistreated him and just made him this kind of douchebag. And I never liked it. And that's always really bothered me. I think the best adaptation of Cyclops we've ever gotten was in X-Men Evolution when he was a high school student, when he was learning to become a leader. I thought it was good there, but here, they don't know what they're doing with him. You don't know what to do with him. And Logan is constantly acting like an asshole. And once they'll hear them walk in, and Patrick Stewart is like, I can help you, Logan. I'm going to find out who you are and what's been done to you. You've been through so much. And it's like, I don't need your help. But then Professor X starts talking to him with his telepathy. And Logan's like, holy fucking shit. He's like, let me help you. Let me show you. And we get all of these montage shots of the entire, which is cool, of the entire school chat where he's explaining how Scott Summers, Cyclops, and Storm and Jean Grey were some of his first students. And Logan even remarks, he's like, Cyclops, fucking Storm. And also at one point Patrick Stewart mentions, he's like, you were attacked by a man named Sabretooth who works for Magneto. And he's like, Magneto, and what's your name, Wheels? It's like, offensive, okay? He's handicapped, fucking Wolverine. Take it easy, all right? He knows his legs don't work anymore. And he's like, despite your mean comment, I'm going to give you a montage of my school. And so we see all the shots of, Jean and Cyclops training. We see all the mutie kids, playing basketball and shit. This one kid who's this one little nerdy white kid's the best basketball player because he teleports around the court. And it's like, God damn, that's pretty cool. We see one kid, walking on water. We see a frog boy. He's hopping around stuff with his frog abilities. A lot of cool. Got another kid with I don't know, bird wings and shit. It's like, oh, this is awesome. Good for all these kids. We go to a barn. We go to a barn where they're petting horses. So they got a lot of activities in the school. We also see Bobby Drake hitting on Rogue. Chat. We notice that in between Kitty Pryde and Rogue is Jubilee. She is there, Chad. She gets no speaking lines, but she does go, that's cool. When Pyro, who is later recast in the sequel, he makes a fireball behind his back while Storm is teaching a lecture on physics or something. I don't fucking know. Doesn't matter. Wow. But then Bobby's like, I'm going to turn the fire into ice, which can't happen, but okay. He does that, and he drops the big old fire ice ball, and Storm's like, Pyro, stop that. And he's like, sorry. And then Bobby's like, I'm going to show you something cool, girl. And he makes her a literal fucking ice rose, which I'm like, that is cool. That's cool. Not even being a punch. That's fucking awesome. She's like, you're so hot. And he's like, I like your voice, your accent. She's like, thank you. And we then transition from that little fun segment, because at this point, we're like, okay, Wolverine. That's what Charles Davis like. Wolverine. Let us help you with this whole thing. Magneto clearly is after you. He wants you really bad, and we got to figure out what's going on inside that beautiful body of yours. And so Jean Grey gives him another examination, and he is consistently flirting with her, but she's reciprocating the flirting. They're going back and forth, and he's like, ooh, when you touch me there, I'm very sensitive. She goes, oh, well, I'll be sure to touch you there again. It's like, what the fuck? You're fucking married. You're either married or you're in a very long relationship with Cyclops. Maybe she doesn't even fucking like him. But it's like, are you kidding me? And I've always hated the love triangle between Cyclops and Jean and Logan. It's like, fucking stop it. It's annoying. I hate that manufactured tension between them. That conflict. That's why I loved X-Men Evolution, because they got rid of that, because Wolverine was one of the professors, and Jean and Scott were just students. I was like, oh, thank God that's gone. But here it's like, this is all, she's cucking Scott. Scott's a cuck. I'm going to tell you right now, Chad, he's a beta male. I don't use the word cuck, but he's a goddamn cuck. And he's like, stay away from my girlfriend. Even after the examination, they go up, she shows Logan his bedroom, and he's like, yeah, bed's looking pretty nice. And she goes, yeah. It's really soft. And she walks out and he's staring right at her ass. And then Scott's by the doorway. He's like, stay away from my girl. And Wolverine comes up to him and he goes, hey, listen, Cyclops, is it? I'm going to talk to your girl no matter what, man. So how about you stay away from me? He's like, don't talk to me. He fucking runs away. It's like, all right, okay. Yes, and the only simp was the Blob. That's true. And the Blob was like, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. In X-Men Evolution. Check out that review, chat. No, Femke Johnson is beautiful. She's very pretty in this movie. There's no doubt about it. But just the lusting that Logan and Scott do over her is ridiculous. It's like, get over yourselves, my lord. But then we transition from that, and we that's it. Because we cut to Sabretooth. He's returning to the domain of Magneto. We see fucking Toad, played by Ray Park, played by Darth Maul. He's like painting something like green. You don't really know what it is. Like, what are you painting green, Toad? And he's like, you didn't get him now, did you? He has a Cockney accent. Sabretooth goes, roar! He goes, thought not. And we see Magneto, who's looking fucking dapper in his clothes, chat. He's got like a really like dark red shirt on. It's like, ooh, it's like kind of sparkly. I like it. And he's like, have you brought the mutant? And Sabretooth's like, they came and they took the mutant. And he's like, what have you brought me? And he sees like the dog tags on Sabretooth's neck, and he gives him, he grabs him, and it says, Wolverine is like, we must go ahead and move with the plan. If everything is going to be set in motion, we're on a timetable. And then they leave. And then, chat, we then cut to Senator Kelly, chat. Where he's going to see the president or some shit. He's going to board the presidential helicopter, Marine One, I think it is. We get all these racist MAGA, mutie-hating people like, human rights are the only rights. Down with mutants. Muties suck. Lock them fucking muties in a camp. And he's like, thank you, everybody. Thank you for being here. I love you. I love you. Great people. Great people. And he's like, yeah, I hate muties too. And then he boards Marine One, and he's talking like on the phone because he's trying to get enough votes together for his Mutant Registration Act, chat, so he can send all these fucking muties to the camps and monitor them and stuff. And so eventually he's like, well, you're going to regret it. You're going to want. We want to make sure that this vote is done, sir. So we hope we can get you in there. We hope we can get you in there. And he fucking hangs up the phone. And he's got like his assistant there, Hunter or whatever the fuck his name is. And he's like, so what's up? What's going on? He goes, it's going to be close, Hunter. It's going to be a close vote. This kind of legislation always is controversial. It's big. It's life-changing. It's going to change the country forever. And I'm right there in the middle of it. It's history in the making, Hunter. But if it was up to me, I'll tell you what, Hunter. You know, if it was up to me, he's like, what would it be if it was up to you, sir? I'd lock all those fucking muties away and throw away the key. Broom him fast, Hunter. And, he looks out the helicopter. He goes, yeah, I hate muties. And he knows he's over like a big body of water. He's like, where the fuck are we going? And he turns back to Hunter, chat, who turns into Mystique, who is very blue and very naked and very sexy. And he's like, he's all disgusted. I'm like, fuck you. And she's hot. She's fucking hot. And then she's like, literally, and the actress who plays, it's not Jennifer Lawrence. It's the original actress who played her. Rebecca Romijn Stamos, is that how you say her name? Rebecca Stamos, chat. And she transferred, and she did the whole fucking not bodysuit, like all the makeup for that, which took like 8 hours to apply and everything. And she does a great job, Chad. The makeup looks good. Her transforming looks pretty good to this day. I was like, okay, what about this CGI effect here? Looks great. Holds up to this day. I was like, nice. There are isolated CGI shots in this movie where it's not like a big action scene. They're just showcasing some CGI. It's like, this is pretty good. This is another example of that. This was nice. And she literally like jumps up on her seat and attacks him with her feet, chat. And she like holds up the upper part of the helicopter and then wraps her feet around his neck. And she's like, it was because of people like you. I was afraid to go to school as a child. And she just starts slapping the shit out of him with her feet, chat. Bop, bop, bop. He's like, pilot, help me. And she goes, bah, gives a good old pop to the kisser, chat. Knocks him out with her feet. And then she crawls into the front of the helicopter where it's being piloted by Toad, chat. And they take Senator Robert Kelly to his hideout, his domain. He then wakes up. Senator Kelly goes, oh, fucking shit. He then wakes up and he is surrounded by the Brotherhood, chat, of muties, which is Sabretooth and Toad and Mystique, and that's about it. Not many other Brotherhood members, chat. Very, very small group compared to the X-Men, chat. And he's looking at all of them. He's like kind of freaked out and shit. And he sees Toad like looking at a tree and like, what the fuck is that? It's like a bird, like a dove in the tree. And then Toad's tongue shoots out and he grabs onto the bird and then eats it. The tongue does not age well. The CGI of the tongue's like, this is not great. And he's like, ugh. I mean, you would do that too. It looks disgusting. And then not Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, he walks in, he goes, Toad has a wicked tongue, doesn't he, Senator? It's like, all right, enough of the puns, Magneto. And Senator Kelly's like, who the fuck are you people? He's like, we are the Brotherhood of Mutants. I'm glad they dropped the evil from their name. That was always kind of weird to me. It's like, me, I was like, listen, I'm just trying to help our people. I'm doing the necessary things that we need to do that Charles is too afraid to do. And that's why we're called the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Like, that's not helping your cause, man, if you're already calling yourself evil. So if he just calls you first to himself, as we're the Brotherhood, which I prefer. Also, it's kind of shitty because, Stan Lee has famously said that, oh, yeah, Charles Xavier is, MLK. And Magneto is Malcolm X. And it's like Malcolm X and Martin Luther King, they had differing views and philosophies and things, but Malcolm X wasn't fucking evil. It's like, Stan, I see what you're trying to do, but it does it's not an apt comparison. It's not a good allegory. So it's like, yeah, that's not really working. So I could kind of appreciate, and he's not like resorting to like, yeah, we're gonna turn everyone we're gonna like do terrorist attacks and shit. I don't think Malcolm X believed in that. So I was like, that fucking comparisons never really sat well with me, nor I think other people, but it is what it is. But fucking Sarah Kelly, he's freaking out. Like, who are your people? It's like, we are the Brotherhood. We are the natural evolution of humanity. And I'm going to turn you into a jellyfish because that is Magneto's plan, Chad. He's like, what's Magneto going to do? Capture Sarah Kelly. He's going to hold him for ransom. He's going to kill him on, national television. And like, this is what we do, the enemies of mutant kind. It's like, ooh, that would send a very terrifying, nefarious message. He's like, no, I'm going to turn you into a jellyfish, man. That's what he wants to do. It's like turn everyone black. Like that's his plan. It's like what if Malcolm X was evil? He also had a bunch of other people in the Brotherhood. He captured this white guy and said, I'm going to turn all you motherfuckers black. That's kind of what Magneto does in this movie. And I don't know how he does it. I have no idea. But he has a machine that takes his magnetism powers and puts out gamma rays. It creates like a big radiation bubble, and it doesn't affect the muties, but it affects humans, and it turns them into jellyfishes. That's pretty much what it does. And so, fucking Magneto, he gets up there, and this scene does not hold up either when he's like, and so like, he's all shaking, and like there's this weird filter up on his face, and it creates like a big old muty jellyfish bubble. And it goes across Sarah Kelly's like, ah! And everyone, all the music, like, they're fine. It doesn't affect muties yet. And then we cut after that. We cut the machine powers down. We see later on, like, what happened afterwards. But then we cut, and we're in the, we're at the scene where he's then taken, I forgot something else, chat. When Ian McKellen is Magneto's talking to Senator Kelly, I thought this was very interesting to me. Mystique is constantly rubbing up on Magneto. And I really like that because it implies that Magneto and Mystique really do love each other. They have obviously a very physical relationship because he's even like grabbing her hand. Like he's even like kneading and like holding her hand and rubbing his hand with his thumb. And it's like, I really like the chemistry that Ian McKellen and Stamos have with each other. I was like, oh, that's like, because, she looks so young compared to him, but clearly they've been in a relationship for a very long time. And we see in the prequel X-Men movies that Mystique obviously is very sexually attracted to Magneto. And so it's like, these two are fucking. There's like not a doubt in my mind that they're going at it. I was like, I want to see, she's my bottom bitch. I would have loved to have seen that. It was cool, but I really love how physical, because I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about that aspect in all these films, how physical and how much they touch each other in this movie, and also I believe in X2. I really like that. And so they're like touching, he's like always rubbing her hand and holding her hand. It was just like a subtle thing. I was like, oh, that's neat. But then she goes up and grabs him, and he's like exhausted after turning, Senator Kelly into a jellyfish man. And he's like, welcome, brother. And then they sent him they put him in a jail cell. Senator Kelly's he's very sweaty now. He's very sweaty Senator Kelly. And he's like, he has like this little porthole of these bars, and he puts his head against them, but then his head kind of like slips through. He's like, what the fuck? And he manages to put his head all the way through the bars. And he's got like this dopey, wide-eyed expression, goes, "What?" But now his bones are like cartilage at this point, and so he just goes right through. He's like, what the fuck? Eventually, Magneto and Sabretooth, they go to talk to Senator Kelly, but he's just gone, Chad. All of his clothes are on the ground, his shoes are on the ground, and he's like, what the fuck? And they go to Magneto does something interesting where he opens the cell door, he just parts the metal, and it goes, whoop, and then it shuts behind him. That was pretty cool. Here he's like, yeah, fuck that. He just blows out the entire porthole bar window, and he looks down, and we see, like, Senator Kelly just shirt-cocking it, Che. I don't know why he took his pants off, but he's just shirt-cocking it, Che. He's got, like, a big old jellyfish wiener. And he's like, oh, Senator Kelly, your powers are advanced. He's like, what the fuck did you do to me? I'm a jellyfish man. And he goes, it's my evil plan. And soon your evolution will be everyone's evolution. Your sickness will be your gift. Your gift will be spread to the world. And everyone shall be a jellyfish. And he's like, Sabretooth, pick him up. When Sabretooth goes to pick him up, he grabs his hand, but his hand's all squish now. And he's like, ah! And he goes through, and Sabretooth, like, grabs, like, his shirt, but then it rips off of him. And so then Senator Kelly just falls into the goddamn ocean, just completely naked, Chad. And it's actually, Sabretooth's like, oh, shit. He's kind of like... Ooh, there's like a pregnant pause, but he's like, oh God. And Magneto's like waiting. He's like, okay, where is he? And Sabretooth like presents the shirt. He's like, yeah. And so he's like, and he locks Sabretooth in the prison cell. Sabretooth's like, rawr. But it's actually a really fucking good scene. I like it. After that, Chad, we then cut to a fucking horrific scene. I remember this in the trailer where it's this kid on a boat, like this kid and dad fishing, and we see the naked, just pale jellyfish body of Senator Kelly just bob up and down the water. So like, he's got like gills on his back. He's kind of like, what's his name? Oh shit, the guy whose power is to never die, but he dies anyway. Oh, you know what I'm talking about from First Class. It's like, my power is I can survive any situation. I can turn to anything, and I can't die. But because I'm a black man, I die. Oh, God, what the hell is his name? Darwin. He's kind of like Darwin in this. And then we cut to this one little boy who's a piece of shit who's literally stabbing a jellyfish with a stick. And this very concerned sister, she's like, stop it, leave it alone. It's just a jellyfish. He just wants to live. I'm going to tell Mom. And this kid's like, yeah, I love stabbing fucking jellyfish. But then we see, he fucking stops because he sees a very pale, very lumpy Senator Jellyfish Man Kelly walk out of the water, just dick and balls is hanging out. Looking gross. It's like, oh my God. And then we cut to Stan Lee's cameo, who's looking shocked at this disgusting jellyfish man who walks out of the water. Everyone's like, don't touch me, man. He's like, get the fuck away. It looks like the guy from RoboCop. When you know the nuclear waste thrown on him, it's like, ooh. But thankfully, as everyone's just staring at his disgusting, muty jellyfish body, he sees a news report talking about Charles Xavier and Jean Grey. He's like, I have an idea. But then, Chad, we then cut to Wolverine having a nightmare, Chad. He gets night terrors. By the way, listen, Wolverine, Hugh Jackman, very hot. All the men and all the women in the world probably like, yes, I would absolutely want to be with Wolverine. He's so cute. But my Lord, after you're done fucking, make sure you sleep in separate beds because he's going to freak the fuck out and stab you and slash you. He's going to gut you before morning. Before the sun rises, chat. But Wolverine, he's having a little bit of a night terror, and Rogue, she hears it, and she cares so much about Wolverine. They have a connection, chat. Looks at him as a father figure, and so she goes into his room, and she's like, Logan, it's okay. You're having a nightmare. He goes, Rah! He's imagining the Weapon X program. We see little cuts and flashes of them injecting all the liquid metal into his tummy, chat. And he goes, don't touch me. And she touches him, chat, and he goes right into her boob. Now, as we know, movies have taught me, chat. If you punch a woman really hard in the boob, or if you stab her really hard in the boob, that's insta-death. I believe that's instant death. And so he went right through her, chat, right to the boob area, all the way out her back. And she's like, and he's like, no. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Someone help us. But then she's like, give me your face. Suck your essence out. And so she starts sucking out his sweet essence. And she starts healing herself and everything. He collapses on the floor. All the kids wake up and all the teachers wake up. Everyone hears this shit now. And they're like, whoa. And they're all like, she's a fucking freak. She's a mutie among muties. She's like, don't look at me. I was just sucking his sweet essence out. And she runs away. Eventually, everyone they're like, okay, is Wolverine okay? Is Logan okay? And they're like, yeah, he's okay. It's like, I'm sorry, I had like a scary dream and she got fucking freaked out. Next day, she's sitting out there alone because no one likes her because when she touches you, you die. I get it. It's not hard. Rogue has a hard power, Chad. She's got a really shitty power. Death by boob stab, and she almost died. Chris, stop. What are you talking about? What'd I do? That's a fact. I learned that in the movies. But she's sitting out there in the park, and then Bobby comes over. Good old Iceman, Bobby Drake. He's like, Rogue, I saw what happened last night. She goes, it was an accident. He goes, listen, there's a few things that you need to know, okay? One of the things I'm going to tell you, never use your mutie powers on another mutie. It's wrong. She goes, but he stabbed me in my boob. And he's like, it doesn't matter. You shouldn't do that. You should get out of here. And she's like, but you love me. He goes, I don't love you anymore. Get out of here. What about the ice rose? I don't like it anymore. I don't like you. She goes, and she leaves. She leaves. It's like, okay. But then, it was a fake out because we see Bobby just smiling as she runs away, and it was Mystique the whole time. How did she fucking sneak onto the grounds? How did she do that? But she's always there. But it was Mystique pretending to be Bobby. Eventually, we cut to what is this point? Oh yeah, I think Charles and Scott and Jean and they're talking to Professor Xavier about why Magneto wants you and you're adamantium skeleton. Clearly, you are part of some kind of experiment. We're going to research this. We're going to find this out. Who could have done this to you? And then Storm comes in. She goes, oh, Rogue ran away. And it's like, oh, no. And they're like, we got to track her down. And Wolverine's like, I'm on. He's like, no, Wolverine, we have another way to track down muties. And that's Cerebro. And we go down to Cerebro, Chad, and they see the X door. The only way to get inside is if you scan Patrick Stewart's eyeball, Chad. It scans his eyeball. Boom, they go in. And again, it's basically this. Why do not have guardrails on this hallway that goes into nothing is horrifying to me. Let's have some guardrails on here, okay? It's just a platform. Like anyone, you could trip, you could tip over, and that'd be fucking it. You break your neck. But they roll out there, and he puts on the helmet, and he explains to Logan, he's like, listen, just don't fucking move or you're going to fall over. He's like, why don't we put some guardrails in here? It's like, we don't have the money for that, and it's cooler if you don't have guardrails. That's a fact. It's like, fair enough. And so he puts on the helmet, and he's able to see all the muties in the entire world, and he finally gets a Rogue. He's like, I spotted her. Got her. She's at the train station. And they're like, cool, great. Well, Logan's like, I'm going to go to the train station. And Professor Xavier's like, no, Logan, you stay here. I'm going to keep talking to you. Storm, Cyclops, why don't you guys go to the train station and pick her up? And they go, on it, Professor, and they leave. Now we get to a really weird scene, which confuses me to this day. I don't know if it's an editing error, but when they go to, we're leaving, we're going to take the car. They're going to the garage, and Scott notices that his bike has been stolen. Not his bicycle, but his motorbike, his motorcycle. And he's like, who stole my bike? And we cut to Logan on the bike. So did Logan just huff it? Did he just fucking run as fast as he could to the garage and stole Scott's bike? Not explaining the movie at all. Very, very confusing, chat. Very confusing. But he gets on the bike, and there's an extra booster on it. Got that nos. Got that Fast and Furious nos. And the scene is very goofy because it's basically him going with the nos, and it's like, okay, this doesn't work. But he drives there. Eventually, though, we cut back to the X-Mansion, and we see Mystique. We see Mystique still as Bobby Drake, infiltrating, the real Bobby Drake actually passes by her at one point. She's like, oh, shit. And, the other kids are like, what happened to Rogue? I thought she was supposed to meet you for dinner. He's like, yeah, but she never showed up. I hope she's okay. I feel really bad. She seems kind of upset. So Bobby Drake's still good. This is the last scene with Bobby, Iceman Drake. But then we see Mystique Bobby Drake go down into, is there no fucking security here? There's none. There is zero at the X-Mansion, which is fucking ridiculous. You want to protect your goddamn kids. That's why the mansion's always blown up in every other movie. But she goes down in there, and she transforms into Patrick Stewart. and scans her eyeball and everything, or his eyeball. She goes into Cerebro, and then she goes, there's like this machine with a bunch of fluid in it. I don't understand the fluid thing, but you go into Cerebro, and I guess there's like some liquid that's pumped into Charles Xavier, and she puts like some green goop inside of it. And I guess when you put green goop inside of Cerebro, that's very bad, because then the green goop will then go into Patrick Stewart and then potentially kill him, which is also weird because it's like, again, they didn't think about this, till years later, that's basically like his adopted sister. But she's like, yeah, fuck this guy. I don't like him anymore. I'm getting that old man Ian McKellen Gandalf dick. And so she's like, I'm all about that Gandalf dick. I'm not about Patrick Stewart. Thank you very much. He might be my brother from another mother, but he ain't my brother anymore. So fair enough. Jaybird, thanks so much for rescribing. I almost forgot to rescribe. Thank you. 16 months. 16 months in a row. That's great. Yeah, they have no fucking security there. Nothing. So it's like weird. But she puts green goop in there. Eventually, we where the fuck are we now? we cut back to we cut back to Rogue. Rogue, she is on a train. She's leaving New York or wherever the fuck she is, Westchester. Who fucking knows? But then Wolverine shows up, and he's like, I smelled your fear farts on here. She goes, Logan, leave me alone. Everyone's scared of me. And he goes, listen, okay, that place is like the best place for you. Like, I'm kind of an asshole, and I'm kind of being standoffish, but really, they can help kids like you. I've seen it. Charles Xavier seems like a good guy. Storm seems like a good guy. Jean Grey, she's got a great ass. I mean, she's a great woman. And I don't like Scott, but he seems okay. I think that's the best place for you. She goes, no. He's like, well, how about this? How about we travel together? How about I be with you the whole way until you change your mind and I'll take you back? I got nowhere else to be. And she's like, really? He goes, yeah. And they keep talking. And eventually we cut to Storm and Cyclops, who have infiltrated the train station, chat there. And, Storm, whose accent is going back and forth. African accent? American accent? I don't know. It doesn't matter. But she's like, I'm going to go talk to the train attendant guy at the front. You just hang out and be cool, Cyclops. That's not that hard for you, right? He goes, of course not. I'm Cyclops. She goes, great. And so she goes over and talks to the train guy. And there's this one kid who looks at Cyclops. He goes, I like your glasses. He goes, thanks. Mom's like, get away from him. He's a mutie. And he's like, all right, whatever. But while, fucking Storm's trying to get some information, the train guy's like, whoa, he backs up because Sabretooth is right behind her. And she's like, oh, shit. And she can't activate her Storm powers yet. Witness! Oh, Jesus, God, witness me. Nick D is the chat attack. Thank you for the raid. Everybody on the dance floor. Raid, thank you, Nick. The chat attack, the witnessing. Appreciate that, good sir. I hope you had a very good stream, too. Cheers and salute to you. Very, very kind. Oh, Joey Jedi, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. This time, welcome. When all the MCU will handle mutant politics. Like Cerebro. If known the public would cost outright. Oh, yes, it would. No doubt about it. Axel, technician. Thank you, chat. Thank you, guys. Welcome. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you again, Nick D. As one of the backbones of the DD community. Make sure the goddamn is the goddamn car. An absolute pleasure to have you here now, my friend. But chat. Then we get like a really weird scene where it's this kind of consistent gag with Sabretooth. I mean, it's a gag to him, but he really grabs Storm by the throat and like holds her against the window, and he goes, "Scream for me." Where it's like, I can't scream because you're choking me, but okay. Cyclops, he sees Sabretooth choking the shit out of Halle Berry. And he's like, hey, stop that. I'm going to do something cool. And he's about to activate his... Now, in this movie, it's a concussive kinetic blast. In the other movies, it goes back to concussive to heat ray. I'm like, those two very different things. Why are we constantly going back between them? Just keep it consistent. They do not. But Toad is like doing his Spider-Man thing in the corner, and he shoots out his CGI Tunchette, which then knocks off Cyclops' glasses, and his concussive heat vision, whatever the fuck it is, creates like a giant fucking hole in the top of the train station, and he doesn't think to close his eyes until, I think I should close my eyes. That's a lot better. And panic ensues. Wolverine and Rogue, they hear all this as the train's starting to move, but then the train stops moving, Chad, and starts to buckle. We get a pretty cool scene of Ian McKellen just floating down there on wires like, oh, Jesus Christ. But he's there, chat. And Wolverine's like, yeah, stay away from her, bub. And Ian McKellen, like, literally, he's like, oh my God, are you all metal? He's like, no. He's like, is that wonderful, delicious metal throughout your entire body? Holy shit, this is oh my God, this is perfect. I'm like your ultimate, like your ultimate weakness. And he's like, stay away from us, okay? It's me you want. Let the girl leave. And he's like, oh, no, I don't want you. I don't want you. Why would I ever want you? He's like, I want her. And that's the big reveal, chat. They haven't been after Wolverine Logan. No, they've been after Rogue and her sucking powers. Good old Magneto. He wants a good old sucker. And he's like, I'm going to shoot you back in the train now. And he goes, Wolverine goes, he goes all the way back to the train, just getting the shit kicked out of him. Rogue, she's like, shit. She tries to leave, but then fucking Magneto has this like dart gun. And it fires like a dart and then immobilizes her, chat, and he grabs her. He's like, cool. Let's get the fuck out of here. And so Magneto, Sabretooth, Toad, they're all walking out. Toad's got like, I think it's Toad, or it's either Toad or Sabretooth. They got like Rogue over the shoulder. And we get probably one of my favorite scenes in the entire movie. This is a really good scene. When they're all walking out and all the fucking cops show up, there's like, 50, 60, 70 cops. They all got shotguns and pistols. SWAT team is there. And they're like, fucking freeze, mutie, freeze. And Ian McKellen, he like looks at all of them. Magneto's like, Homo sapiens in your guns. And he just takes control of all the gun shit. He literally rips them out of their hands and then turns them on them, flips them around. It's like, oh, it's so good. And it's a mixture of both practical and CGI effects. Also, he's like flipping the cop cars over and everything. All that's practical. It looks really, really neat. This is a really good scene. And he's like, oh, this is perfect. The helicopter's going to get here. This is going to be great. But before he does that shit, Sabretooth just fucking grabs Magneto by the neck and starts like choking him. Magneto's like, oh. And Toad's like, oh, he stops moving. And then Sabretooth stops talking. He's like, hey, listen, can you like give us Rogue back and get and like stop all of this? And then Magneto's like, oh, Charles, you're here. And he realizes that Charles Xavier's there controlling Sabretooth and Toad, chat. And Magneto's like, listen, I'm going to walk out of here, okay? Because I know you won't risk any of these human lives, all right? And Charles is like, no, you got to give us Rogue back, okay? And we'll let you go. We'll let you go. He's like, then do it, Charles. Kill me. End it right now. It's within your power to do so. And Charles, like, he can't. He's like, just fucking kill him. Do it right here. He's like, nope. Like, if I was Jean Grey in this scene, I'd be like, we got to fucking kill him. At this point, yeah, and he's like, no, I can't do it. Who am I going to play chess with? Oh, fuck. And then fucking Magneto even gets tired. He's like, fine. And he fires one of the guns at one of the cops. And this is really fucked up and cool because he slowed down the bullet, and the bullet is going like super slow into the guy's head. He's like, ugh. And it's always freaked me out as a kid. It's like, holy shit. And eventually Charles is like, all right, I'll drop it. He drops it. He gives Sabretooth and Toad their minds back. And eventually this helicopter lands with Mystique piloting. They all board the helicopter. They fly off. And then the bullet that was going to the cop's head like drops. He's like, oh, my head hurts. And Charles is like, I couldn't kill him. I love him. I love him. He's my best friend who murders countless people throughout this franchise, and who's also tried to kill you. Leading to the scene where he tries to kill Charles. At this point, like they're all back at the X-Mansion are like, what's our next step? What are we gonna do? We have no idea. Oh, that's the other thing too. Like he couldn't read Magneto's mind because Magneto has a helmet. And he's like, fuck, I can't read helmets. So if you got tinfoil on you, Chad, or you got like a cool by the way, all the costumes so far in the movie kind of suck. Magneto's costume, awesome. He looks great. Looks really cool. Logan has got the jacket. He looks good in that. But I really love Ian McKellen's Magneto suit. Very regal looking. I like the very dark purple and black with him. It's very nice. Very dark red colors. Very sleek with Magneto. But eventually we come back to the X-Mansion. Everyone's like, shit, what are we gonna do? We have nowhere to go. Logan's like, I don't care. I'm gonna go find Rogue. I know the smell of her farts better than anybody. And he's about to head out the door, chat. But oh no, fucking Senator Kelly's there. He's more jellyfish than man now. He's like, help me. And he collapses into Logan's arms. And they take him down to the bowels of the X-Mansion, chat, where they got him on a table. He's looking extra squishy and gross now. And then Charles Xavier rolls up to me. He goes, Senator Kelly. He goes, I'm so scared. I wouldn't want to go to a hospital because I thought they would treat me like a mutie. Like a mutie? He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah, we get all the time, man. Listen, I'm going to help you out. My name is Dr. Charles Xavier. I run this Institute for Gifted Youngsters. I'm going to peer into your mind and see what Magneto's been up to, okay? You don't mind if I just like, okay? Because at this point, he's fucking, he's more jellyfish than man now. There's not a lot of hope for Senator Kelly. But he goes inside of his head, and he sees the machine. He sees Magneto's whole plan, and it's like, cool. And he's like, all right, guys, so I went into Jellyfish Man, and I learned that Magneto has somehow created a device that turns his magnetism into gamma rays, and he wants to use the gamma rays to turn all of these delegates that are meeting right off of Ellis Island for this UN Security Council meeting. So all the leaders of the major countries there, President, you got China and Russia and Japan and France and everybody's there. They're all going to be there, and he's going to turn them all into jellyfish people. And that's his big plan, chat. So, therefore, once they're all jellyfish people, they'll start making decisions that are good for other jellyfish people. That's his plan. And it's like, okay, cool. Nice. And he's like, we got to stop him. And so I got to track down Rogue. And so he goes to Cerebro and he puts on the helmet, not knowing that Mystique put in some green goop earlier, chat. And I guess when he activates it, the green goop goes inside of Patrick Stewart. He's like, ah! And he almost falls off the side, almost careens right off the side, chat. But thankfully they pick him up. They get him, but he's like in a catatonic sting at this point. It's like, this is just not good. We gotta help him out. All right, and so they got him on the table, and like Scott, he's like, don't worry, if you die, Professor, I can lead them, okay? You've taught me so. It's actually a nice scene, but we don't give a fuck about Scott because he's been such a dick this entire time. He's been incompetent. And so what could have been an emotional scene of Scott like pouring his heart out for his father figure, it's just empty. It's like, all right, whatever. He's doing this. Meanwhile, Jean Grey, thankfully, she knows how to get green goop out of Cerebro. So he gets all the green goop out. And she's like, well, I got to use Cerebro, even though she told Logan if I ever put it on, it would kill me because Patrick Stewart he's a far more powerful telepath than me. You say that now. But she puts on Cerebro. It's like, ugh! And she finds out where Rogue is. And they're taking her to Ellis Island, chat. And they're like, cool. And also Scott's like, no, Jean, don't put it on. But it's fine. Everything's fine. And so this point's like, okay, guys, let's fucking suit up. Let's do it. It's like, oh, now we're going to see the cool X-Men costumes, chat. We're going to see Wolverine's outfit, and Storm's outfit, and Jean Grey's outfit, and Scott's like, oh, just a wonderful medley of colors. No, it's all black leather. Now, I will say this. You can tell which outfits are for the men and for the women, chat, because the male outfits, big old cod pieces, big old black cod pieces down there, and the women, just a V-neck to show off all the bazunga area. All that's like on full display. So it's like, okay, I get it. At least I know, and I know who it belongs to. I know that I shouldn't take the V. Maybe I want to take the V-neck. Maybe I want to show off the chest a little bit, to the boys and girls out there. But they board the extra. I don't know how they afforded the Blackbird, this giant advanced plane that lives below the basketball court of the X-Mansion. But they get in there, and Wolverine is like, I don't like this. This makes me uncomfortable. I don't like. And he snicks out of the suit, and it's like, oh, cool. But then he's like, I mean, you guys have gotten better outfits. And then we get the first of 2 Joss Whedon lines in this movie. This is the first line. Stranger Shoot, thank you so much for resubscribing. 22 months, nearly 2 years support. Thank you, Stranger Shoe. Happy to have you here. Camera Card X-Men, good evening. Oh, yes, indeed, Stranger Shoe. Yes, indeed. And this is the line that she's like, oh, it's uncomfortable, snicked. And Cyclops literally turns around and says, what were you expecting, yellow spandex? And then he starts flying the ship out. And it's like, all right, man. Everyone wants the Wolverine outfit. We're going to get it, child. I'll tell you right now. We are going to get the Wolverine outfit in the MCU. It's going to be great. I'm very excited about it. But no Wolverine outfit for us. Everyone's in black leather. Eventually, we cut back to the Brotherhood, and it's really fucked up because we see like these security guards like patrolling the beachhead where they're going to have the World Unity Festival Security Council thing. And like there's this one guy like, driving this boat, little thing, goes hi at the one security guard, waves back like hi, and Sabretooth walks up behind this guy and just puts his entire fucking arm in his back and just rips out his spine like the Predator, chat, like fucking Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, and he just falls down dead. And then we see like the driver of the tugboat, he ain't the driver, chat's Mystique, who killed that man, probably gave him the best 5 seconds of his life, chat, probably killed him with her feet again, or maybe her thick blue thighs, I'm not sure. And then we get to probably the most horrific death scene in the movie, where we hear this, and the security guard's like, what the fuck was that? It's like, what is that sound? And then we see Toad literally landing on top of these guys with such force that their entire just torso and legs just explode beneath them. And they use like a big meaty effect. You go, ah! It's like, oh my God. Everything's just shooting out of their asshole. Like all their intestines and anything else. Just like, oh my, he does it again. It's like, Jesus. It's actually, there's a lot of like, really creepy deaths. Oh, I forgot about the big death. I'm sorry, chat. I think speaking of creepy deaths, before they leave, before they get the fuck out of Dodge, before they go to Ellis Island, before they suit up, totally forgot about this. We see Senator Kelly earlier, chat, and he's not looking good. He's really gross now. He's leaking everywhere. But he's like, "Is someone there?" And like Storm comes, she's like, fuck, he saw me or he heard me. She's like, and she goes over to him. He's like, I didn't want to be alone. He like reaches out for her hand. And she's like, yeah. And he's just like, just water. Just everything's coming out of him at this point. And he's like, do you fear us? Are you afraid of humans? He's like Crane from TMNT. She's like, sometimes it's just because of all the things that you say to us, and it makes me angry, but I like who I am, and I want to help people like myself, and I want to make other people understand. And he's like, well, you have one more person not to be afraid of. Basically completing his arc like, I'm not going to be a racist douchebag, but because, Senator Kelly, you were such a racist douchebag, you're going to die. And he starts going... And he just becomes this giant, bloated jellyfish thing, and he just turns to water. He completely turns to water, and he fucking dies, chat. The scene where Logan stabs Rogue gives me no... Yeah. No, there's a lot of, like, creepy, like off-putting scenes in this movie. Like, the one where Senator Kelly jumps out of the water as, like, his gills and shit. It's like, ugh. This scene when he turns into water, it's horrifying. And the scene when, like, Toad is, like, jumping on people and making them shit out their intestines out their asshole, it's horrifying. It's like, oh, my God. There's a lot of, like, it's a pretty violent movie. Pretty violent movie. And so he dies, and that's when they suit up and shit. I totally forgot about the death of Senator Kelly, chat. I didn't mean to. That's a great fucking death scene. It's great. Kind of completes his arc in a way. And it's like, oh, you learned your lesson, but you still die anyway, so fuck you. But then, after that, we cut to the Blackbird, chat. I think it's 10 minutes, by the way, Chris Harris. Cut back to the Blackbird, and we're like, we're almost at Ellis Island. Now, this is really dumb to me, because at this point, they kind of already know that you're coming, especially, when you add a plane. But for whatever reason, Scott's like, Storm, give us cover. And she creates this fucking monsoon around the X-Jet. And I'm like, you don't often get monsoons in New York. And so fucking Magneto's like, why is there a fucking hurricane happening outside when it literally was a clear night? I checked the weather report the day before. That's obviously Storm. Okay, guys, yeah, they're going to be here, by the way. They're going to be here. And he's like, hey, Sabretooth, stay here with me when fucking Rogue sucks out all my juice. I'll be completely defenseless. Also, there's a really cool scene with Magneto and Rogue, where she's all like locked up in the dinghy, and he's like, oh yes, the Statue of Liberty. I first saw her in 1949 when I came to this country, a country that takes in the downtrodden, the people who have suffered greatly, gives them new purpose, a new life, better treatment. That was a load of fucking bullshit, wasn't it? And she goes, it's nice, I guess. And he goes, yes. And he goes, listen, you will be the future of our race. Okay, what you're about to do is incredible. But she's like, but you're going to kill me. He goes, well, yeah, I'm gonna kill you because I can't die. I can't be the one that dies. I can't make that sacrifice. I gotta lead all my, like, fucking Magneto's a selfish piece of shit. He craves power more than fucking anything. You know, he's like, I mean, that's why I'll have you suck me off a little bit and then I'll take over. Don't worry about it, honey. You're gonna get a nice chapter in the history of muties. It'll be great. But eventually he's like, all right, a Mystique, Toad, take care of all of the X-Men, which is actually not that much. Like, our team of X-Men is only 4, really, in this movie, Chad. It's Wolverine, it's Scott Summers, Cyclops, it's Storm and Jean Grey, and that's really it. There's no one else. Funny enough, originally, Bryan Singer wanted to have Nightcrawler and Beast in the movie, but because of the amount of makeup effects and practical effects and CGI for both characters, Fox said, no, you can't have both of them. You can have one of them in the next movie, but not 2 more. And so he's like, fuck. And so, yeah. But originally, Beast and Nightcrawler were supposed to appear alongside all the other X-Men, but never happened, Chad. Never happened. But they eventually get to Ellis Island, and they're fucking. Scott lands the Blackbird, but not great. He's like, what the fuck kind of landing was that, Scott? He's like, sorry. And they walk out, and they go inside the Statue of Liberty, where it's the gift shop and things. They go through the metal detector. It's like, man, you should know, Logan. But he goes to the metal detector, sets off all the alarms, wee woo, and he stabs everyone's like, Logan, come on. He's like, fuck you guys. And he literally he snicks the one of his little claws up like it's a middle finger. And they're like, ha 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 ha. But they keep walking around. But then Logan, he gets a whiff. And they're like, is it Rogue's fear farts? Is it one of her jerky farts? He's like, nah, this is something else. I'll be right back. I'm going to go alone. They're like, Logan, where the fuck are you going? He just wanders off. It's like, okay. And eventually, he seemingly comes back, and he's like, oh, did you see anything, Logan? He goes, no, but there's definitely someone here. And he's about to, like, stab. And this is what's confusing. He's about to, like, he snicks his claws. He's about to stab, like, Storm or Cyclops or Jean Grey or something. But then the real Logan jumps out, and it's Logan v. Mystique, Mystique being Logan. Now, very confused by this, because are her claws, when she snicks her claws, are they metal? I don't know. Because we see them fight in the movie. Everyone gets a little action scene, like mostly and none of it's really choreographed well. It's just people throwing each other around, a lot of wire work, a lot of high kicks, a lot of flippy jumps. There's some interesting ideas with Mystique, I will say, but you mostly see like Logan fight himself. Like he literally cuts off her adamantium claws. But like, are her claws adamantium? I just don't know. Her claws are fake. But then but she snicks her claws out like she's about to stab Cyclops. So can her claws stab? Can they go through things? Like, it's not explained to me. I'm not sure. But they go off. He cuts off her fucking, her claws. But if that's a part of her, did that cut off her? Like, there's so many questions I have about her anatomy and what she can and cannot do. You know, she can replicate clothes, which we've seen, being naked. And then she can also replicate metal claws, at least a version of them. But if something gets cut off of her, is that gone? Can she just grow back limbs? Is she like a lizard? I mean, she has like scaly skin. I just don't know. I have no idea. It's always confused me. But they fight, and they're doing a bunch of flippy jumps, and she's like a lizard amphibian thing, where she's like crawling on the walls. She crawls up this pipe backwards, like It's interesting. It doesn't always look good, but I like that they made her fighting so alien looking. It was unique. It was a very unique fighting style. And Logan's just overwhelmed. He's like, I've never fought anyone like this before. Toad, he just kicks everyone else's ass. Like, who would have thought, Chet, Toad just kind of looked as a joke in the Brotherhood Mutants. He's like, oh, he's a D-list villain. He's lucky he's even there. Toad fucking kicks not only Jean Grey's ass, but also Cyclops' ass and Storm's ass. Back and forth, chat. He vomits. He also does like a little dance. For whatever reason, I think he uses his tongue, he hits Storm, and he hits Cyclops, knocks them, and then he confronts Jean Grey, and he does this, like, little fucking dance thing. It's, like, really weird, but I kind of found it charming. I guess he is Darth Maul, that's true. And he vomits, like, this, like he jumps at her like I'm gonna attack you, but she holds him in midair and goes, "Bah!" And he vomits like this toad spittle that covers her entire face, and I guess it dries very quickly because she can't get the shit off, and she's like suffocating. Meanwhile, like Scott's like, I'm gonna help you, Gene. I'm gonna get off the gross toad vomit, and then Toad's like, I'm gonna go kick Halle Berry's ass, and he whips her fucking ass, Jack. He's jumping around, using the ton, hits her in the fucking face, jumps around again, backhands her, chat. Eventually knocks her into an elevator shaft. She goes, ah! And then, I guess the elevator was under construction. There was this pipe that was holding the doors open, and he grabs it, and he does a Darth Maul pose. Because this movie had come out after episode 1, Chad the Phantom Menace, and he literally spins it around like Darth Maul and goes, ha! Like that. It's like, oh, I see what you did there. A little Darth Maul reference, which I thought was cute. I forgot about that. But he's walking away, he's doing his thing, but he hears something in the elevator shaft, chat. It's all lightning and booming and stuff, and then boom! Elevator shaft doors come open, all this wind starts coming, he's like, getting blown back and shit. And Halle Berry, she's fucking walking out, and she's like, yeah, and he's like, oh, shit. Eventually, he's like thrusted out of the shop, and he's gonna be blown off the side of the Statue of Liberty. Which honestly, he probably should have let himself be blown off. He's like, I'm just gonna land in the water. I'll be okay. But he uses his tongue to wrap around this guardrail, Chad. He's holding on like for dear life, like, oh shit. And then Halle Berry's like, do you know what happens when a toad is struck by lightning? She's like, same thing that happens to everything else. And then she hits him with lightning and he dies. And then he goes, that's it. Now the thing is, this was the second Joss Whedon line, but I totally understand what he was going for in this particular line because it's how you deliver. It's not a bad line. It's the cadence. It's the tone in which you deliver it. Like if you went, you know what happens when a toad is struck by lightning? You're like, what? The same thing that happens to everything else. Boom! That's how you do it. But it just, boo. But she says it's so monotone, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work. I think you could sell the lines how you fucking say it. That's how you say it. But he's like, what? He gets blasted and he dies. He ain't coming back. No sequel, chat. Eventually cut back in, and Logan's like standing in the middle. Unlimited! That would have been even better. Stop yelling, you know. You agree with me now, you brownie. Agree with me. I did Person Mans. I did. David Hayter. Voice of Solid Snake and Naked Snake. Many a snake. No. I love that. You got me good night. Stop yelling at us. It's not working. It is. Oh, my Lord. But then we cut to Logan. He's in the middle of the gift shop, just like standing still and shit. And Storm's walking over. And she's like, did you find the person? Do you know where she is? He goes, yeah. I do. And he turns around and goes right into her tummy. He's like, oh! And then she turns into Mystique. She tried to bamboozle him, chap, but got her right in her gut. But you got to double tap Logan because she just falls over. He's like, my tummy. Oh, I'm dead. And he's like, cool, we got them both. And it's like, let's keep heading up the, fucking the Statue of Liberty. And so they keep going up, Chad, until Logan stops moving. They're going like, what is it, Logan? He's like, I think he's here because I can't move anything. He's like stuck in place. And then Magneto comes down and is like, oh, hello. And he just fucking wipes them out. He's like, he forces them all against the side. Like they're inside like one of the parts of the Statue of Liberty. And he forces them onto the wall where he uses all the metal to wrap them up in like little cocoons. This is at the Storm, does the Jean Grey, does the Scott, points Scott's face at Jean Grey and takes the glasses off until it's like, all right, if you open your fucking eyes, you'll blast her face off. Does it to Logan. He's like, let's make sure you don't, hurt yourself with those claws. He forces him against the wall, makes sure that his hands are like this. So it's like this. So if he snicks, he'll like cut himself. He'll stab himself. And then Sabretooth, he shows up there. He's like, listen, watch them. Okay, why don't we just kill them? Why don't we just kill them here? Like, you didn't mind, like, trying to kill Patrick Stewart and all that shit. It's like, just kill him right now. You can save yourself some trouble. So, you can then unleash your plan on making all the world leaders into jellyfish. But he's like, no, keep them alive. But then Gene, everyone else is like, fucking Magneto, wait. I don't understand. We met Senator Kelly. He goes, how powerful is Senator Kelly now? I'm surprised he survived the fall. He turned into a jellyfish. He died. And Magneto's like, I don't care. My plan will work anyway. He's like, he doesn't give a fuck. He's like, whether I kill them or I turn them into jellyfish or muties, we're gonna do the plan. All right, fuck you. And so he flies up there, which I always like when Magneto flies. He's always like, yes. He goes up there, lands up there. Rogue is screaming her head off, and he uses his powers to like, all right. Listen, I'm not into this kind of thing, but you need to suck me. And so Rogue gets a sucking, chat. She sucks out all that good Magneto juice until she absorbs his magnetic power shed, and she starts powering the jellyfish bubble device. Meanwhile, Wolverine, he's like, fuck it, and he stabs himself somehow in the back, which then lets the metal that was wrapping him behind him loose. I don't know. He gets himself free by stabbing himself a lot. And Sabretooth's like, oh, and he's like, finally, I get to fight you. And, you know, even though there's no interaction, like, hey, you know, you're my brother, maybe father, who fucking knows. But they start fighting, and I tell you what, she's like, oh, here's the big fucking battle on top of the Statue of Liberty, on the head of it. It's going to be awesome. It's not. It's really not, Chad. This is where the CGI, they're like, okay, we got nothing left. The CGI looks really bad, very rubber bandy, and the choreography, it's just Wolverine or Sabretooth throwing each other on the top of the head of the Statue of Liberty. It's not good. I'm sorry, it's just not. It's very awkward. But they're going back and forth eventually, and I think at one point the battle comes back down to where everyone is, everyone's like, I think fucking Sabretooth like throws Wolverine down, and oh, that's the thing, yeah, because Magneto gave Sabretooth the goggles for Cyclops, and Wolverine grabs them, and he throws up in the air, and then Jean Grey, she uses her telekinesis abilities, so like, all right, Scott, here we go, honey, and she directs his beam into the glasses, like, kind of like, puts them to the side, and fucking Sabretooth's like, oh, shit, and he gets blasted back, he goes through the metal, and he goes down to a boat where he presumably also dies. He doesn't come back, so he's dead here, I guess. Although they had plans to bring back Sabretooth and Logan at one point, but it didn't happen. And so, yeah, he dies. And so at this point, Magneto's like, fuck. Because now he's just an old man. He's just like, he's 65. I don't know. I guess how old was Ian McKellen when he named this movie? What, in his 50s? Maybe probably in his 50s, Chad. It's kind of nuts. And like maybe like late 50s Ian McKellen. And he's like, shit. This isn't good. But the X-Men are like, how the fuck are we going to get up there? And when it's like, Storm was like, I'll just fly up. And they're like, no, that's too easy, no. And it's like, you know, Jean's like, well, I can just lift myself or one of you guys up there, or, I can lift Scott up there and you can blast the things up. He's like, no. Wolverine's like, no, I want to do it. But Wolverine, you're metal. You're a metal man, and you got to fight a guy who has magnetic powers and a girl who has control magnetic powers. He's like, I will do it. I get all the action scenes, okay? Not you guys. It's me. And they're like, all right, fine. And so, like, Jean or Storm, whoever, they launch him up there where he lands up on top of the jellyfish bubble machine. And I forgot about this, but it makes me laugh so much because you can see Ian McKellen just like, no, like trying to hit him off. I know, but he's just like an old man. He can't do anything anymore. He's like, stop it. Get off of here. And Rogue has no control. She's creating the giant bubble. And all the leaders are like, it's a bubble. They're all scared of the jellyfish bubble. As you would be. You'd be scared of a jellyfish bubble. Turn you into jellyfish. I get that. But I guess Magneto still has a little Magneto juice left because he starts like pushing Wolverine's claws like almost like to the sides. Like, but then Scott's like, I'm going to shoot this old man in the back. And Scott like finally gets him on where he shoots an old man in the back. And he's like, he falls over. And then Wolverine uses his claws against the power of magnetism to destroy the machine. But then, Rogue's not looking too good. And he grabs her and he's like, Rogue, you can suck my Wolverine juice. It's okay. But none of the sucking's happening, chat. She's also the white streak. I guess the event for her was so traumatic that it turns a part of her hair white. So that's how that happened, chat. There you go. You got a little bit of that. Got a little bit of that Ian McKellen in her now. A little too much of that Ian McKellen in her now, chat. Too much Ian McKellen juice. But it's like he's putting her face against his and but nothing. He's like, she's dead. And then she starts sucking him off, chat. And he's like, but not in a sexual way. And she's like, geez, Logan, I'm sorry. It's like, as long as you're okay. And he kind of like, he gets all of his wounds appeared. All of his stab, he's bleeding out and stuff. And they're like, all right, we gotta get out of here. So Scott and Storm and Jean and Rogue and shit and Wolverine, they load up in the Blackbird and they fucking get the hell out of there while the SWAT teams and the police and the FBI, they arrive, chat, and they arrest Magneto, who's all and shit. And they find the security guard who has stab wound in the tummy. It's like, he's still alive, guys. Let's go. But little do they fucking know, chat, that's Mystique. Shh. We then cut from that, and we are back at the X mansion, chat, where Patrick Stewart has woken up from his coma. And is like, did you do it? Did you defeat Magneto? And fucking it's like, yeah, we did. He's like, Logan, what happened to Logan? And Logan's all fucked up and gross looking on the other table. He goes, oh, thank God. And then we get another scene where Logan and Jean Grey are flirting back and forth of each other. After she's checking his wounds, his healing factor's returned. He wakes up. Is Rogue okay? Is everyone okay? I mean, Scott's still a fucking dick. Oh, there's like one scene in the fight, which I thought was funny, but again, it's just more treating Scott like a dick. Like, we're literally like he's a piece of shit. Where it's after the big battle of Mystique, and Cyclops is, how do we know you're Wolverine? And he's like, it's me, guys, it's me. And he goes, how do we know? He goes, I'll tell you something that you would make sure you would know it's me. You're a dick. And he goes, all right, fair enough. That was a Whedon line too? Oh, I didn't know that. I thought there was only two. Wow. I kind of like that line. That line made me laugh. Thank you to 10 minutes. But then we're back at the X-Mansion. And again, Jean is just flirting with Wolverine. And he lets Wolverine... She lets Wolverine kiss her. He grabs her hand and goes. He does like, what are you doing? What are you doing? She's like, haha, you're so cute. It's like, ugh. Eventually, we watch all the X-Men are watching TV. They're watching Senator Kelly. There's a big press conference that says, I've reversed all my decisions on muties. Muties are great. I love muties. No more Mutant Registration Act. I will oppose this legislation now, okay? I've learned. They're like, why? He goes, within 24 hours, I've just had a change of heart. Anyway, bye. And when he's walking away, like some cameraman or some guy like accidentally hits his tummy region, and his eyes just turn fucking bright yellow. And not like for like a second. It's like, no, for like a good couple of seconds. It's like, oh, like right at the camera, like big yellow peepers. It's like, okay, I think that's weird. But all the X-Men know is like, that's Mystique. She's taken the place of Senator Kelly, who turned into a jellyfish blob saltwater monster. Because he's dead now, chat. And Logan's like, well, I've had enough of this. And so he goes to talk to Professor X, who then he's like, I've sifted through your memories, Logan. And I now understand where you might have had this experiment performed on you, this Weapon X program. And it's at the Arcalay Mountains, the big dam. We're going to be there for like 15 fucking X-Men movies. We're going to keep going back to it. But that's where it happened, Logan. Go there to find your answers and set up a sequel. He's like, cool. And so he leaves Shep, and then Rogue, she was like all, playing foosball with Bobby and Pyro and shit, and Jubilee, who got no speaking lines, and Kitty Pryde, who is going to be recast in the next movie and then the movie after that. But she sees Logan leaving, and she's like, Logan, where are you going? He's like, I got to figure out my past. She's like, I want to go with you. He goes, no, you have to stay here. You have to learn. You have to be an X-Man, okay? These are good people that take care of you. How I'm going to remember you? He's like, all right, here, have my dog tags, okay? I'll come back for him one day. Literally, maybe like a week or two. Like, when does X-Men 2 take place? Is it like a couple weeks later? Because he kind of drives the Arcalay. I guess it's a couple weeks later. I assume. I figure. I don't know. But he's like, you keep these, okay? I'll be back, okay? Father-daughter relationship set in stone. And so he goes outside and he steals Scott Summers' other motorcycle and just rides off on that shit, going, woo, nos. But then that's not the end. You thought Wolverine riding out in the sunset was the end? No, because we get to probably the best aspect of this movie, which is anytime Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen have a conversation, and especially over fucking chess, because we cut to the giant plastic prison of Magneto, where everything's made of plastic. And he's playing a little plastic chess game with, Charles Xavier. And they're going, like, Magneto's like, and this is good. I really like this conversation where he's like, you think your little thing that you just did is going to accomplish anything. It's like, hey, stopping you does accomplish something. Prevents this war that you're so adamant about starting from happening. And he's like, well, when the day happens, when they do pass that legislation, and they will, that they come to your school and they take your children, what are you going to do? And Patrick Stewart, he's like, the day that happens, I'll feel sorry for those that try to do it. Boom! Boom, that's a good fucking line. And he starts willing himself out, and he's like, there's a war coming, Charles, and we'll be prepared for it. And Navy's like, you think this plastic prison will stop me? I'll be back. And fucking Charles is like, I know. And I'll be there to meet you. And then he rolls out as Magneto. He fucking knocks over his king. Checkmate. And that, my friends, is my scene by scene breakdown of 2000. Bryan Singer's, Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen starring film X-Men. Chap. Fart. Rogue? He would know. He would know by your farts. CP Drums, thank you so much for the gifted sub. Thank you. That's what the 90s animated series theme should be. Exactly. 505 suck-offs. That's what she does. Drums, that was beautiful. Thank you, Drums. Thank you. I got more coming. I got to tell you what. Ooh. Thank you. I'm with the 50 bitties. Really close to the edgy. When the machines raise encompass all the mutants, she has subtle but strange reaction. As the Phoenix Force begin to wake. Ooh, I didn't notice that. Horrible one. Very nice. I didn't see it. Very cool. I think for tomorrow, chat. Tomorrow, I am going to either review The Pest or Tusk. So tune in for that. That's going to be that'll be a fun little spoiler review. Ramen Bachi, have you done a recap of Ghost River? No, but I feel like I gotta. I feel like that'd be a really fun review. This past couple of weeks, I've done Ainley's Hulk, Daredevil, and I've done X-Men. Tomorrow, I'll probably either do The Pest or Tusk. And I think, let's see what's after that. What do I have after that, chat? Let me see. Let me look at my schedule. Magneto. Cerebro. Here we go. So X-Men I did today. Oh, my rating. That's right. Oh, my God, chat. Fucking Alex Bernal. Editing magic. I would give this a matinee. This is a matinee movie, chat. There are some aspects of it that I think work pretty well. I think Hugh Jackman is well cast, and Patrick Stewart is great. Ian McKellen is really good. I really like Mystique in the movie. And Jean Grey's fine. Famke Johnson as Jean Grey does well. There's a couple, Halle Berry's definitely miscast in the movie, and James Marsden, it's not his fault. He's underused. And that happens with a number of the characters. They're underused. This movie is called X-Men, but it's more Wolverine and the X-Men. Like, the X-Men are, secondary characters in the movie, which kind of sucks. And that's been a problem throughout all of the X-Men films, or at least a lot of them. A lot of them up until, well, with the exception of kind of the new ones with First Class and then Days of Future Past, and even the poor, Apocalypse and the Phoenix, they did a little better. But this trilogy is very much Wolverine focused. It always bothered me. But yeah, a lot of the writings and mixed bag sometimes is really good, and like that. Anytime Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, they can sell even some of these bad lines. They do a pretty good job, and you love their chemistry and you love the dynamic. Like, some of the best parts of this movie is when no one's fucking fighting; it's when that's talking. And that's awesome. But when we do get to the fighting, I think that isn't great. This is very early 2000s era superhero choreography where it's just a lot of people throwing each other around and some CGI and some kind of weird, awkward camera work. There's some cool showcases of their powers, but it's a lot of the parts I liked where they showed off their mutant abilities, not when they were fighting each other. It's I really love when, that one scene in the bar where I guess it's not really a fight scene, it's just Wolverine showing off his claws. That was awesome. And I like the scene where anytime Mystique transforms, that effect really holds up well. I was gonna be it's gonna look bad. It doesn't. It still looks really cool. I like that. I like even the montage scene at the mansion. That was fun. Magneto's powers, because you can do so much with that. Fucking McKellen just go, and he, the scene where he lifts up all the guns. They're not really action scenes per se, but they're more showcases of their abilities. When no one's moving. That's when it looks the best. It suffers from the problems that all these movies of this era suffer from, but it established a lot of tropes, established a lot of great things. It took it seriously. There is some great, the opening of this movie takes place at a concentration camp. I was like, whoa, that's awesome. That's so dark. You're taking the material seriously. I appreciate that. So yeah, I stand by rating. It's a matinee movie. I give it a matinee. There's some good stuff in there. Chat. Stuff of Rogue is really well done and creepy. It is. It's horrifying. It's like, oh my God, you do not want Rogue's power. It's like, fuck that. So I give it a matinee. X2 is the best opening. X2 is a really good opening. Yeah. X1 is a good opening. X2 is a good opening. We'll do. I'll have to do X2 someday, chat. We'll introduce Nightcrawler. Yeah, that'd be fun. And Stryker. Long recurring enemy in these movies. And even though he dies in the second one. After this movie, I feel Rogue was wasted so much in the rest of the X-Men series. I feel like they do some stuff with her in 2. That's good. But 3, she's fucking completely wasted. After 2, it's like she's not even there. 3, she's not in most of the movie. Her stuff got cut out of Days of Future Past. But yeah, she's mostly used in this movie, I guess in the sequel. Like Bobby Drake gets more to do. Shawn Ashmore gets a lot more to do in the sequel, which I think is cool. I like some of those other characters. Yeah. And then reveal the Couch Cam was run by I fucking know. I talked about that in my commentary. Chat, if you like my review for X-Men, 2000s X-Men, then I'll tell you what. I think you're going to get a kick out of my full-length video and audio commentary for X-Men, which was just posted to my Patreon. At the $2 tier, very inexpensive $2 tier level, chat. Very inexpensive. That's only $2 a month to access that right now, video or audio version, boom, where I talk about Kevin Bacon running a concentration camp. You can go ahead. It's weird. It's like, they did some retconning. There's a lot of retconning in this franchise, chat. They love retconning. That's what kept it alive for the most part, at least for a little while. There's the Patreon link if you want to check that out. The Rogue, I do have the Rogue cut. I've seen the Rogue cut, too. Wolverine was 2 overused, which is inaccurate. True. Yeah, I hope for these upcoming films that even if they do an X movie, he's not even in the first one. Or he's a professor. Like, I would really appreciate if the MCU would age up certain X-Men characters to be like adults, to be like, we're the teachers at the school, and the other ones are like teenagers. And so I like the idea, like in X-Men Evolution, Logan, Charles Xavier, and Storm are all adults. They're all professors. And everyone else is like, they're kids. They're high school students. Like Scott's, Cyclops, Jean Grey, Nightcrawler, a lot of those guys are high school students. I like that. And you eliminate the fucking awful love triangle between Jean and Wolverine and Scott, which I'm tired of that. I don't want to see that anymore, which is what I would prefer. So that'd be cool. All right, Mr. Evans and chat, I have to head off. No problem, man. I've got online class that require my attention. Again, it was awesome having you in Chicago. It was great talking to you, man. Well, I could see you in Dallas. Yes, I will be in Dallas. Have a good night, everyone. Have a good night, Jaybird. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys. But now, my friends, the link good to see some of the comics is actually one of the oldest X-Men. There you go. Perfect. Do it that way. Here's everything in 10 minutes. Don't review in the beginning. I would have gotten here a lot earlier, but I was in my booster, in flu shots, and my grandpa's on his way out. Gotcha. So I saw at the hospital with some family to see him and get drinks with them afterward. Nice. Well, I hope your grandpa's doing better, man. Thank you for the 10 middies. I heard he was hospitalized. Well, MCU takes advantage of the audience familiar. Just do something. Yes, no, I hope so too. I've talked, I'm going to come back. I'm going to talk about what I think would be cool of them to do. Because there's certain things where I think it would be a issue now. Because, okay, if we make Magneto a Holocaust survivor, he's going to be like really fucking old. And so I thought there's a way to modernize it a little bit. Though I imagine it'll be controversial. But I have an idea. I'm sure some of you already know what it's going to be. But I'm going to take a quick break, chat, because I got to go potty. And I'm thirsty as all hell. So please entertain yourselves amongst yourselves. I'll be right back. Stick around. Going to be playing some Guardians of the Galaxy as well, to the Marvel shenanigans shall continue.